my gosh, Pocket Mochas, thank you so much for the resub. 30 months, oh my god. But yes, hello, Dust. Thank you so much for the raid. I really do appreciate it very, very much. What were you playing, though? Let me take a look. Hang on. We should have had the... Yes, Final Fantasy 14. How was your Final Fantasy 14? How was your Final Fantasy stream? I hope it went well. Also, hello, everybody who came in with Dust's raid. Hang on, let me move this microphone real quick. There we go, that's better. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sucrose Irishigaki Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. I mostly focus on retro style content when I'm not doing ASMR. I also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising, so if you like fighting game stuff, I do that as well. And then on Sunday nights, we do cozy content and ASMR here. If that sounds like your jam and you want to hang out for some cozy times tonight, you're more than welcome to be here. But if you do have to raid and run, I completely understand. Redeems are good. Ko-Fi Throne alert check. I will... Well, let me double check that real quick. The redeemed or the alerts should be set properly. That said, I don't remember. I think on these alerts, the Ko-Fi and Throne alerts are turned off, but I'm going to take a quick look just to make sure. They should be turned off. They, No, they were not turned off, actually. The Throne ones were still turned on. Haha. Well, I'm glad that that got checked, because, whoops. That said, let me just throw out there right now that they're not ready, or rather, they are ready today, but it didn't seem right to, put them in place for the ASMR stream, because we have alternate variations on those to keep it nice and cozy. But on Tuesday, I've got new alerts for you guys, and I'm so very excited to show them to you. I was actually, part of why I was late to stream tonight is I was busy getting those set up, and that does include the Throne alerts as well. So, you know, I'm not telling anybody not to do anything or to do anything, but if you want to see those alerts in place, maybe wait till Tuesday. Because Tuesday stream, that will be when we do it. It'll be on Tuesday that I will have them live and active, and I'll show them off at the beginning of the stream just so you can see them, because some of them, you know, obviously they require, you know, follows and subscriptions and raids and whatnot. So yeah, yeah, I'm very, very excited to show this off. So I was kind of teasing that over the course of this weekend, because it looked for the briefest of moments like it might have been ready for last night's stream, but it just barely was not. It just barely missed that window. So I would have had to set it up anyways. It was probably for the best that that we're getting them in place for next week. But seriously, I've been waiting on these for a minute now, and I'm so excited to show them off. They are really, really cool. They're really cute. Anyways, let me say hi to everybody here, because I haven't done that yet. Congrats on first, lovely CJ. Hello, Caruso. Hello, While Running. Hello, Pocket Mochas. Hello, Dust. Hello, Milkman. Hello, let me see. Caruso. 10 awesome streams, the best pair ever. Oh my gosh, thank you for the 10 stream streak, Caruso. You are awesome. Let me see. Hello, White Bear. Let me see. Who else? Q. Hello, Q. How's it going? Your hype grows for Combo Breaker Tingle. It is, yeah. I will admit that I was in something of a fighting game slump this last this last weekend mostly, but really it lasted a little bit more, like a week or two even. I'd like to think that I'm starting to pull myself back out of it, though. And, you know, it happens, right? Like, the mental game is ongoing. It's back and forth. Anyways, so, I'm, I've got my fingers crossed pretty hard. I'm just doing Grand Blue. Yes, I am just doing Grand Blue. At this point now, I wonder if I still have time to register for Strive. I should check that. There is, admittedly, part of me that would kind of like to see how I could do in Strive. I'm definitely not tournament material in Strive yet, in terms of like, there's no chance I get out of pools, right? That doesn't happen. I don't play that game enough. However, I have been playing it more lately, and I think I could do okay. It would depend a lot on the gamble of exactly what I would run into. I don't know. I might check if registration's still open for Strive. I might toss my hand in that. My yo-yos. I will toss my yo-yos. Toss my yo-yos into the ring. But we'll see. Anyways, so tonight is another soft-spoken story time stream. Best let me try that again. Best Bridget main globally in no time. I don't know about that, but I'm starting to be a little more convinced that maybe I'm not actually playing Bridget entirely wrong. I'm definitely playing a very specific kind of Bridget, but I'm starting to think maybe it's not actually wrong. Because I'm like, I have a feeling if it was just like me flailing about and like playing the character entirely wrong, I would have stalled out before Plat 1. So, but we'll see. Anyways, like I said, Storytime Sunday night, we're going to be continuing our read through of Otherside Picnic. We stopped before getting to the end. Yeah, of course. We stopped before getting to the end of File 11 last time around. We are close to it. So we kind of got as far as we could. And so I guess as a recap, just to remind everybody of where we were on it, it started with Toriko and Sorobo. It was actually just Sorobo watching the Luna Arumi video, and there's the fizzy water. And basically getting kidnapped by, like, she and Kozakura got kidnapped by Luna and her followers, specifically because Luna is trying to summon Satsuki. So when we left off, never heard of Otherside Picnic before. It is a Yuri. It is. It's a very slow burn Yuri. That said, if I remember correctly, we get our first, like, very explicit, not in that way, but our first very, like, outright statement of, like, oh no, these two are, like, maybe not in a relationship yet, but they're on the way there. So, so hang tight for that. But we ended out with Toriko coming and rescuing Sorobo from the compound, and now they are I guess launching a rescue mission into the lab in order to try to get Kozakura free as well. Thank you so much, J Titans, for the follow. I really do appreciate it. Welcome in. Okay. let me get this fizzy water first, and then, so seeing here, let me put this up because, let me see here. I think it will be this one. Yes. Okay. Let me go ahead and get this, there we are. As always, ASMR redeems and requests will be honored, but I will do them in between chapters. To keep drinking sips so that I can, have room in the glass. Oh my gosh, I just saw the throne alert. Even though it didn't pop up here, but yes, is it Abizzed? Thank you for the follow. Abby? Maybe Abby? I don't know what got purchased on Throne, but I did see it. So thank you in advance. And of course it was rail running. Anyways, okay. So, once again, any ASMR requests, please feel free to put them in, but I will be getting to them in between chapters. So, without further ado, Chapter 8. There was a red carpet under the soft lights. The table to the left, in the hall, in front of the stairs and the reception counter, were both polished to a shine, giving the place a relaxed, hotel-like atmosphere. The last time we visited the DS lab with Kozakura, this was the first floor we got off on. "They're here, all right," Toriko said in a quiet voice. I could sense people in the lobby. "Hold on, I'll take a look with this." I pulled out my smartphone and, like Toriko had done before, I stuck the camera out from the inside the stairs and looked at the screen. As expected, there were 3 cultists watching the lobby. The gunshots down below had, obviously, alerted them to our presence. Worse, these 3 were all armed with rifles or shotguns. Oh, yeah, it occurred to me. Hunting rifles are legal to purchase in Japan, huh? The conditions were supposed to be strict under normal circumstances, but Runa Urumi's voice could probably do something about that. "They're here!" one of the lookouts shouted. His gun turned our way, and he immediately opened fire. The bullet nearly grazed me, so I panicked and pulled my hand back. The other lookouts fired too. The bullets tore holes in the wall we were hiding behind, and chunks of trim board flew everywhere. "This is dangerous. Please, stand back," Migiwa told us, and we backed away from the corner. "They're waiting for us. What now?" I asked. "The enemy aren't robots. I figure Migiwa-san and me can win a shootout if the 2 of us take them on together," Toriko said with a serious look on her face. Migiwa shook his head. "No, that would be dangerous. I cannot expose the 2 of you to gunfire." "But you don't want to get shot either, right, Migiwa-san?" "If you will pardon my rudeness, I believe I am more ruggedly built than you are, Nishina-san." "If you're going to go that route, then I can say I make a smaller target than you." They had both naturally excluded me from their fighting force. Yeah, sure, I was useless with a gun, but I didn't like feeling like I was in the way. "Hey, I've got a shotgun too, you know. The shot spreads, so even I should be able to hit, right?" I interjected, and Toriko frowned. It doesn't spread that far. This is close range, and they're behind cover, too. Regardless, I believe it would be a poor idea to engage in a straight-up shooting match with them. It would be best if we could raise some sort of smokescreen. When they both contradicted me, I was not amused. Well then, how about I make an opening? Do you mind if I try? What are you planning to do? Toriko asked. I got down on all fours and approached the corner again, sticking out the rear-facing camera of my phone. I didn't want it getting busted, so I was going to pull it back if they looked like they might shoot, but maybe because they were being wary, no bullets came. Oh, did I not? Hang on, let me fix that. Sorry about that. Nope, I sure didn't. There it is. It's been fixed. It's back on. Okay. I didn't want to get it getting busted, so I was going to pull it back in if they looked like they might shoot, but maybe because they were being wary, no bullets came. I could see one of them on the phone. If reinforcements came, that would be trouble. We needed to deal with this quickly. Thank you for the hydrate. I looked at the three I could see on my phone screen and focused my mind on my right eye. Nothing happened at first. Then, after about 10 seconds, the middle one started scratching his head constantly. The other two looked uneasy too, mumbling curses so loud I could hear them. They clicked their tongues, spat, and glared at one another in irritation. What's going on here? Toriko, who was looking at the screen from behind me, asked. I thought I'd test if my eye worked through the screen, but... Finally, unable to bear it anymore, one of them pulled the trigger. There was a boom, and chunks of the reception counter went flying. He hadn't been aiming at all. Get the hell out here! Shut up! The hell do you think you're doing? Don't piss me off. I'll kill you! Oh yeah? Why don't you just try it? Things were escalating quickly. Just as I was thinking they might shoot each other, Mugiwa leaned out around the corner and opened up with his shotgun. 1, 2, 3 shots. The spreader caught all of his targets, and the 3 men dropped in no time. By the time I hesitantly poked my head out, there were no longer any guns turned in our direction. The men lay bleeding on either side of us as we crossed the smoke-filled lobby. That eye... It's really dangerous, huh? Toriko said, sounding a little dazed. Mugiwa agreed. I never would have expected it to work through the screen. Was that something you had tried before? No. No, it wasn't. As I answered, I was reminded once more how messed up my eye was. Maybe they were right to call it the evil eye. I'm glad you're the one who got that eye, Sorowo. Huh? Why? It had been terrible if somebody bad got it instead, Toriko said in a somber tone, and I was speechless. I'll have to do my best not to be bad, then. We moved past the lobby, and the entire wall at the end of the hall was taken up by a door that was about 4 square meters. Looking through the crack where the door was open, I saw thick stone stairs leading upwards. The UB artifact warehouse is past here, Mugiwa said, and tried to move on, but I stopped him. Mugiwa-san, hold on a moment. Yes? I think it would be better if Toriko and I went alone from here. Mugiwa turned and furrowed his brow. Why is that? Her... Runa Arumi's voice. If you get hit with it, you won't be able to resist. Like you saw with the doctor downstairs. With my eye, I can see her voice, and Toriko's hand can knock it away, but we can't handle any more than that. What will happen to me if I hear the voice? You saw how I drove those guys crazy with my eye just now? She can give more direct orders for what she wants you to do. If you turned your gun on us, we'd be helpless. It might have been possible for me to drive Mugiwa crazy with my right eye and override the effects of her voice that way, but I couldn't predict how the interaction of the two would play out. Besides, considering how skilled with a gun he was, Mugiwa would waste no time in shooting me. Do you agree, Nishina-san? Mugiwa asked, and Toriko thought for a moment before answering. I'm with Sorowo. I wouldn't want to get in a shootout against you. Very well. I will be on standby here, so if you require assistance, please call me. Migiwa cleared the way and indicated the direction of the warehouse with his right palm. Please, both of you, be careful. With those polite words of parting from Migiwa, we turned towards the stairs that led to the warehouse. We climbed, clubbed our guns ready. There was a thick double-layer hatch at the top of the stairs, and beyond it was an area that resembled a display room in a museum. The hatch, which normally would have been closed, was wide open. There was a spiral staircase wrapped around the support pillar in the middle of the warehouse. The wall was lined with a number of glass cases, each filled with a variety of objects. A stuffed cat with 5 legs, a statue of Mary with cracks that resembled Oracle bone script, a Swiss Army knife with tools that could only be meant for torture. All of these were likely items gained through contact with the other world. I recognized a number of them. The ones they had bought from us. The family photo where the faces occasionally became dogs, and the plant that had grown in the shape of a shirt, both of which were still fresh in my memory, caught my eye. At the bottom of each case was a simple plate bearing a number. I couldn't tell if proudly displaying these items of otherworldly origin showed a composure of the mind, or an insane degree of contempt. As habitual explorers of the other world, we probably weren't in any position to decide one way or the other. We climbed the stairs and came to the second floor of the warehouse. It was an open showroom that used up the entire floor. I tried focusing on my right eye to see what would happen, and the silver glow of the items in the cases made the dark floor shine like a starry sky. Several of them were colored differently, or didn't shine at all. It interested me, but there was no time to go looking around, so we kept on climbing. The next floor up was also part of the warehouse, but it was slightly different. There were few cases here. Instead, there were plastic and metal cases of varying size and shape, along with wooden boxes and simple shelves. They had numbered plates on them, so I could tell the containers must have held UB artifacts. This wasn't a display room, but simple storage. One of the few glass cases near the stairs was broken. Someone must have stolen whatever was inside. It had to be Runa Arumi. Did that mean it held Satsuki Aruma's notes? That's when there came a voice from upstairs. "Oh, you came? Kamakoshi-san." Beside me, Toriko jumped a little. "I'm impressed you made it this far. Was it the power of your eye? Wow." Toriko brought her face close to mine and asked, "This voice, it's Runa Arumi's?" When I nodded, Toriko rubbed her face, as if trying to refocus herself. "I get what you're saying now. This voice is nuts." "I know, right?" I pointed to my right eye. "Let's end this quickly. My eye and your hand. With both of them together, we can take her out." "Once we've dealt with her voice, what do we do next?" "What do you mean?" "What do you want to do with Runa Arumi herself?" "Oh, right. Punch her out, then stuff her mouth full of cloth or something?" "You're so violent," Toriko criticized. The voice came from above again. "Hey, since you're here already, why don't you come up here? Help me out, Kamakoshi-san." What an attitude. Toriko and I looked at one another, nodded, then climbed the spiral staircase. Thank you for the first-time chat, Z Chris, and for the follow, Meeble. Also the hydrate and the posture check. Give me 1 second. Okay. Chapter 9. We finished ascending the stairs and reached the highest floor of the warehouse. Unlike down below, the walls here were lined with piles of labeled boxes, and there were cabinets overflowing with files. There was a large, latticed skylight in the back, and beneath it was a desk surrounded by potted plants. Oh, you don't know? Oh, I didn't actually say, did I? It is strawberry sunset, which is strawberry, kiwi, and pineapple flavors. Bubbly has a couple seltzers that I think are intended to be like vaguely cocktailish in flavors. I assume to act as mixers, but I like them fine on their own. Chapter 9. We finished ascending the stairs and reached the highest floor of the warehouse. Unlike down below, the walls here were lined with piles of labeled boxes, and there were cabinets overflowing with files. There was a large lattice skylight in the back, and beneath it was a desk surrounded by potted plants. The strongest impression the place gave off was of a lab at the university. Runa Arumi was sitting on the desk, and she waved to us. Next to her sat Kozakura in a revolving desk chair, her eyes gazing absently at the thing in her hands. There were two bizarre silhouettes lying at Runa's feet. One was the fourth kind I had seen before, with a head that looked like a large, swollen mass of fungi. The other crawled like a lizard, with the ends of his arms and legs ending in broom-like appendages that branched into many thin filaments. His head was grotesquely shrunken, a mass the size of a person's fist, with wrinkles like a pickled plum. The woman who was reading files on the other side of the desk stood up and noticed me, began shouting. "Satan, you snake! What have you come here for? Return from whence you came!" "What? No way!" Toriko shook her head in disbelief. It was the thank you woman. She came with them too, huh? "Luna-sama, this one's too dangerous. Why did you leave her alone? Please, don't be so arrogant." "I didn't exactly leave her alone. I mean, we had everyone downstairs, right? These girls managed to take them all out. Isn't that amazing?" I didn't respond, simply turning my shotgun towards Runa. "Whoa there. Give Kozakura-san back." "Hey, calm down, okay? If you shoot, you'll hit Kozakura-san too, you know. Maybe don't threaten me with things you can't do." "How's this, then?" Toriko said, taking aim with her AK. "I won't miss." "Oh, you must be Nishina-san, huh? You really are pretty, just like I heard. I've got all sorts of questions for you. Put the guns down. Let's talk, okay?" I saw something in my right eye. The silver stream left Runa's mouth, flowing towards Toriko's and my ears. "Toriko, sweep it!" When I raised my voice, Toriko's left hand quickly swung through the air. The voice that had been in front of my eyes was knocked back, writhing as it retreated. Runa blinked. "Huh? Did you do something?" "Your voice won't work. I can see everything." "Oh, yeah?" I was feeling pretty smug, but Runa didn't really seem to get it. Thinking about it, Runa didn't have an eye like mine, so that was only to be expected, I guess. I doubt she'd ever thought of her own voice as having physical form. "Luna-sama, it's Nishina-sama. Could her shining hand be interrupting your voice?" the thank you woman interjected. "That woman's evil eye can likely see the workings of your voice. You mustn't face the eye and hand at the same time." The way she talked was cultish and unpleasant, but her powers of perception were not to be underestimated. So your gifts are partners too, then," Runa said to Toriko. "Nishina-san, I heard you're chasing after Satsuki-sama too. That puts us in the same position. I think we could get along." "Don't be silly." "I'm not. I envy you, Nishina-san. Getting to be with Satsuki-sama, to travel the blue world together. I'm jealous. If I'm being honest, I'd like to catch you with my voice and squeeze you for every last drop of what you know about Satsuki-sama. That's exactly what I was planning to do, in fact." The overly friendly tone of voice she had used up to that point sobered, and I thought I caught a glimpse of seething emotions inside her. It seemed I wasn't the only one. Toriko's finger, which was on the AK's trigger guard, jumped a little. Runa smiled again. "But if you're seeking Satsuki-sama, like I am, there's room for us to work together, isn't there? I think that, as a fellow gifted, there's a lot we could cooperate on." Reaching for the desk, Runa lifted up the notebook with the black leather cover. "Satsuki-sama's notebook. I can't read it myself, but if we had Kamakoshi-san there helping us, I'm sure. Hands off Satsuki's notebook. There was ice in Toriko's voice. It was about as cold as it was when she warned those thugs at the beach in the other world. I watched, thinking she might open fire at any second. Runa took her hands off the notebook, her smile never fading. The thank you woman behind her carefully took it from her. I'm fine either way, because, to tell you the truth, even without Kamakoshi-san's eyes, we may still be able to read it. What do you mean? Runa pointed to the thank you woman. She did the research for me. If we go to the Blue World, we can probably read the notebook there. There were a number of files open on top of the desk. Photocopies out of books, handwritten notes on loose leaf, photos and diagrams, and more were all scattered there. Were those the contents of the thank you woman's bag? I don't know the way there, but you do, right? There's a gate at Kozukura-san's house too, isn't there? If we can go to the other side through there, we can read the notebook. Then we can call Satsuki-sama. Why would you listen to a head case like... I was being snarky, but Runa cut me off. Don't make fun of my mom. Mom? Looking at the thank you woman again, there was certainly a resemblance. So she made her mother call her Luna-sama and wait on her like a servant, but then she got mad if anyone insulted her? Whatever, just give the notebook back. Hurry up, Toriko said sharply, showing no intent to hear Runa out. Runa furrowed her brow. What do you mean, give it back? Is this yours? It isn't, right? It's Satsuki-sama's. You've been treating me like a thief this whole time, Nishina-san, but aren't you the one trying to take possession of someone else's things? Pointing a gun at me like that. Isn't this an armed robbery? Shut up. You don't know a thing about Satsuki. You seem to want to think you were special to Satsuki-sama, but you weren't, you know. I've heard from Kozukura-san. Satsuki-sama had her eye on other girls, too. Sorry, one moment. Okay, sorry about that. You seem to want to think you were special to Satsuki-sama, but you weren't, you know. I've heard from Kozukura-san. Satsuki-sama had her eye on other girls, too. It's true you were with Satsuki-sama before she vanished, and maybe you were even the last one to see her. But have you ever imagined what Satsuki-sama was doing without your knowledge? Shut up. Are you mad? Well, I'm right, aren't I? Kozukura-san and Kamakoshi-san won't bring it up because they feel bad for you. But everyone knows. You do, too. And you just don't want to admit it, right? Satsuki-sama threw you away because you weren't good enough for her. If that weren't true, she'd have taken you with her now, wouldn't she? Her tone was pitying, but only her tone. You poor thing. Toriko said no more. She lowered her gun with a more violent movement than usual, then clenched her fists and strode towards Runa. Uh-oh. She'd let the blood rush to her head. Toriko, you can't get close. My warning came too late. The two fourth kinds at Runa's feet got up and leapt at Toriko. The fourth kind with the broom-like limbs wrapped around Toriko's lower half, with his countless fingers and toes. Let go! Toriko pounded him with the butt of her AK. There was a dull thud and the sound of fingers breaking. He let out a pathetic wail, but did not let go. The big-headed fourth kind lumbered towards her. The eyelash-like growths that rimmed his swollen head shone in the moonlight that came in through the skylight. I instantly turned my shotgun towards him. It's no good. I can't shoot. I'll hit Toriko. I gotta get closer. I dropped the shotgun there and rushed towards Toriko as I drew my Makarov. There were countless fingers wrapped around Toriko's right arm, and her AK fell to the ground and rolled. The big-headed fourth kind was closing in. Why, you... Toriko pressed her translucent hand against the big head that was closing in. He let out a shrill cry. There was a silver handprint left in the indistinct features of his massive face. That print, which shone like a puddle, was clearly causing the fourth kind great pain. He stumbled and backed away. Maybe she noticed the effect, because Toriko quickly stroked the fingers grasping with her left hand. There was a cry of pain from her feet, and countless fingers fell to the floor. The many-fingered fourth kind shrank back, crawling away from Toriko like a mop made of flesh. With heavy breaths, Toriko turned back to face Runa again. That hand of yours is pretty awesome, huh? Runa moved away from the desk she had been leaning on to fall against Toriko's chest. Caught by surprise, Toriko stopped moving. I heard Runa's whispering voice. Shh. Calm down, Nishina-san. Let all the stress out of your body. From behind her, I could see Runa's voice, crawling up Toriko's neck like a living creature and quickly entering her ear. Toriko's knees bent, and her body tilted. This time, it was my turn to let the blood rush to my head. Toriko! I caught Toriko from behind as she was about to fall. I could see Runa's smirking face on the other side of Toriko's body, and I leveled the Makarov at it. Luna-sama! The thank you woman cried. Runa just maintained that slight smile. What are you going to do? Shoot? You think this is an empty threat? Really now? I think you give away too much. Though, if you were planning to kill me, I think you'd have fired already. Nishina-san put down the gun to come punch me too. You're both so kind. Runa gripped the barrel of the gun pointed at her and tried to move it aside. I gave no ground. Runa got irritated. Jeez, could you stop getting in my way already? You have nothing to do with Satsuki-sama, right? Fine, I'll give Nishina-san and Kazakura-san back to you for now. I just want to meet Satsuki-sama as soon as possible. No, Sorobo, you can't! Don't let her have Satsuki's notebook! Toriko shouted as she stood in my arms, struggling to recover from the effects of the voice. For some reason, Toriko's desperation pissed me off even more than Runa's cocky attitude. I started shouting despite myself. Every one of you is all, Satsuki, Satsuki, Satsuki. Give it a break already. How long are you going to keep clinging to that woman who's gone? She's not even human anymore. That thing is a monster. The person you knew is never coming back, Toriko. They must not have expected my outburst, because Runa and Toriko both went silent for a moment. That was when I heard another voice suddenly whisper, Satsuki. It was Kozakura. Satsuki. Kozakura, who was just sitting in that chair, was holding something shining in the hand. Kozakura, who was just sitting in that chair, was holding something shining in the hands that lay on her lap. I recognized it. It was the cube made of mirrors, 5 centimeters to a side. The mirror stone we'd found when we defeated the Kunekune. Kozakura-san, that's... Kozakura looked up at me from where she sat, a dazed look on her face as she opened her fingers. The mirror shown sitting on top of her outstretched hands drew my gaze on its own. We were not reflected in the room its mirror surface showed. No, that's wrong. There was someone there. A lone figure, standing in the darkness. Sorrowell? With the effect of the voice waning, Toriko struggled to stand on her own feet. I hardly noticed as I stared into the mirror stone. Sorrowell, what's up? Someone... Huh? There's... someone... reflected... Someone other than us reflected in the mirror stone? As I stared, half in disbelief, I suddenly realized who it was. I nearly screamed. The one reflected in the surface of the mirror stone was Satsuki Aruma. Instantly, I turned around. At some point, she had gotten there, right behind me. Satsuki is here, Kozukura whispered again. Sorbo? Toriko followed my gaze. She looked around the dark warehouse, then back to my face. Is it Satsuki? Is she here? No, she's not. My denial was too quick and too desperate. You can see her, huh? Toriko said in a whisper. I couldn't compose my expression. The cold sensation of destruction caught in my throat, and I was unable to speak, just shake my head. You can see her. I'm right, aren't I? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? She found out. I knew it might come out eventually, but I was sure it'd be okay. I thought I could trick her. The words I had feared finally came out of Toriko's mouth. Wait, Sorbo? Have you been able to see her all this time? You're wrong. You're wrong. The lie I so wanted to tell refused to come out of my lips. I felt like I was drowning, only able to manage the shallowest of breaths. Convinced, Toriko lowered her voice. I knew it. That's how it is, huh? You knew it? It's been a mystery to me for a while now. Sorbo, you occasionally would get this dangerous look on your face, glaring at something I couldn't see. No way. I couldn't be sure of it before now. I tried not to let it show on my face. There aren't many people you'd react to with such intensity, you know? I never thought she suspected it. Did you think I didn't realize? Oh, you did, huh? The voice she addressed me with was calm. That actually made it scarier. I couldn't see Toriko's face. Toriko's face, which was always by my side. Toriko's face, which was so pretty, I felt I could stare at it forever. Satsuki-sama is here? Rina asked from behind me. Hey, is she there? Is Satsuki-sama... I was so cornered I couldn't even think what I wanted to. Shut up. I've got bigger fish to fry. Get lost. The situation was so beyond my capacity to handle, I couldn't think anything about it at all. She's not here. She's not here. I'm telling you, she's not here. I shouted like a child throwing a tantrum. 2 booted feet entered my downcast vision. Still barely able to breathe, I looked up. There was Satsuki Aruma, clearly looking down at me with her 2 blue eyes. The next thing I knew, I was flat on my backside. I tried to get away with my legs still weak, and my back hit the desk. I had faced Satsuki Aruma, or the being that took her form, several times before now. Each time I had faced my fear, I diligently used my head, one time using my gun, another using my right eye, and resolutely ignoring her another. Yet now, I could do nothing. Nothing came to mind. The moment that Toriko uncovered my lies, everything supporting me just collapsed entirely. With slow motions that reminded me of a massive deep-sea creature, Satsuki Aruma moved her body, looking from me to Kozukura. The long arms covered in lacy sleeves reached out, putting her fingers around the mirror stone in Kozukura's palm. As Kozukura let out that exhalation, Satsuki Aruma lifted up the mirror stone. No one but me could see her. Everyone was watching the mirror stone as it floated into the air of its own accord. When it reached the point in front of Satsuki Aruma's face, the mirror stone began spinning like a top on one of its corners. The blue shining eyes were reflected in its surface. It gradually picked up speed, and as it did, that's a pretty fitting comparison, actually. Sorry. And as it did, the blue light grew so bright it could illuminate the room. Satsuki, Kozukura whispered, and the very next moment, the light burst. There was a sound like a thunderclap, and the ultra-blue flash engulfed everything. When I recovered from the impact and opened my eyes, I was in a field. Long grass swayed in the wind beneath the dark sky. It's the other world. If the time was the same as on the surface world, it was just past 4 a.m. Was that purple blur on the horizon because sunrise was coming? Satsuki Aruma was standing in that grassy field. Toriko, Runa, and even Kozakura gulped. The thank you woman let out a terrified cry and fell to the ground. The 2 fourth kinds let out indiscernible groans and lowered themselves to the ground. It wasn't just me. Everyone could see her clearly. Satsuki! Toriko was the first to shout. Finally, I can see you! Toriko crushed the grass underfoot as she raced towards Satsuki. No, you can't do that, Toriko. Even in this situation, my words remained trapped in my throat, not a single one able to escape. Toriko reached Satsuki Aruma's side at last and clung to her, but Satsuki didn't react in the slightest. Hey, it's me. Hello? It's Toriko. Toriko was almost crying. I was shocked by that. Was Toriko this willing to show her weakness in front of Satsuki Aruma? I've come for you, Satsuki. Her ungloved left hand took Satsuki's hand. For just an instant, I could see a tense shudder in Toriko's shoulder. That brought the first reaction. The blue eyes fell on Toriko. Like a massive bird of prey, Satsuki Aruma brought her face towards Toriko. This is no good. Toriko's going to be taken away. My shoulders were frozen with despair when, at that moment, someone suddenly grabbed me. Get it together, Kozakura-chan. Kozakura stood there, grasping my shoulder. Her eyes were focused, like she'd finally regained her senses. Kozakura-san? That's not Satsuki. Not the Satsuki I know. Kozakura sneered, as if spitting blood, and then collapsed. Moving her arms weakly, as if trying to push me away after I quickly caught her, Kozakura continued. Move! Quickly! Catch her! Toriko's gonna go away! Kozakura's shouts gave me the push I needed. I struggled to my feet, nearly tripping over them as I moved. I hugged Toriko's waist from behind, as if I was tackling her, and my momentum brought us both tumbling to the ground. As her hand was torn away from Satsuki Aruma's, Toriko let out something like a scream. Soribo, hold on! Don't go, I said, not wanting to hear Toriko's protests. You can be mad at me, you can hate me, but don't go. You can't go with her. Absolutely not. You can't. Don't go. Don't go. Don't go. I felt like nothing I could say would convince her, so I just kept repeating myself. I didn't want to let her get a word in edgewise. I didn't want her to tell me to let go. Toriko looked back at me, bewildered. As I repeated myself, even I lost track of what I was saying. What kind of face was I making now? Was I crying? Was I angry? Or... Satsuki Aruma looked down at us impassively as we tussled in the grass. Suddenly, she looked to the side. Her gaze was on Runa Arumi. Satsuki-sama, we meet at last. She was saying the same sort of thing as Toriko. Her voice quavered, but it was less with tension and more with ecstasy at having met the object of her worship. I have waited for this day to come for years, ever since I first received your divine revelation. I am your disciple, Runa. Satsuki looked down at Runa, saying nothing. Runa went on in an impassioned voice. I am your humble servant. Take me with you to the far side of the blue world. Take me and no one else. Please choose me, the one who loves you more than anyone else. At some point, Toriko had stopped moving and, like me, watched as Runa and Satsuki Aruma faced one another. I couldn't say what was going on, but the tension was rising. Something irreversible could happen at any moment. I was afraid to watch, and afraid to look away, too. Perhaps sensing that, Runa continued even as she tripped over her own words. Do you need proof? Proof that I am one of the chosen ones, the gifted? I have the qualifications to be with you, Satsuki-sama. Please, listen to the boon you bestowed upon me, the voice. Runa took a deep breath. It happened just as she was about to unleash the voice from her throat. Luna-sama, you mustn't! Unexpectedly, it was the thank you woman who interrupted her. Up until then, her legs had given out, and she had been trembling in fear, but despite her obvious fright, she crawled towards Runa. Please, run away! Can't you tell? This is the evil eye! It's so vile! The thank you woman closed the distance between them, holding up her hand to shield her face from Satsuki, as if she were approaching a bright light. Runa turned around, shouting in irritation. What are you doing, you stupid woman? Don't get in my way. Stand down. The thank you woman did not follow her order. Satan, you vile bitch. Don't you dare deceive my daughter. Chanting like some sort of mantra, the thank you woman walked in front of Runa. In her hands, she held Satsuki's notebook. Run away. You can't do this. It's hopeless. I'm hopeless and finished too, though, the thank you woman muttered. What do you think you're doing? You stupid woman, don't try to act like a mother now. Not responding to Runa's insults, the thank you woman opened the notebook and began to read. Here is how I heard the words she spoke. There was a small gate, and the one person calling the devil finally entered the door, and the flashlight turned on and off, and on and off, around and around and around. A spell? No, this was more nonsensical. A and B and C and D were lazy, and urinals lined up, and people came, approached, coming, because the creepy voices called before. They called, so it's fine. I opened my eyes and... The bizarre words continued without pause, then suddenly stopped. The next thing I knew, there were a number of figures standing behind the thank you woman. They were 4 white-haired elders, wearing what looked like crowns, and they looked down at the thank you woman without emotion. What's that? Toriko whispered. I had a vague understanding of who they were, or what they came from, to be more precise. They closely matched the portrayal of the unidentified old men who appeared in the net lore story The Round Hole Underground. The men wearing crowns appeared behind the thank you woman as she read out of the notebook. It was a composition that almost made it look like she was about to sick her summoned monsters on Satsuki Aruma. But was that notebook something so kind and easily used? In the next moment, my worries were confirmed. The 4 expressionless old men squinted their eyes. The corners of their mouths turned upwards. Those smiles, which showed their gums, were full of greater malice than I had ever seen before. The thank you woman turned around, and the old men watched with horrifying smiles as she backed away. With nowhere to flee, caught between Satsuki Aruma and the old men, the thank you woman's face filled with despair. Run! Saying that to Runa one more time, the thank you woman balled her hands into fists, and she thrust them toward Satsuki Aruma. It was a hand sign, with her thumb protruding from between her index and middle finger, the warding symbol to protect against an evil eye. It had no effect whatsoever. Satsuki Aruma raised both her arms, then sandwiched the thank you woman's face between them. Her thumbs dug deep into her eye sockets. The thank you woman screamed. The blood ran down her cheeks, wetting the grass at her feet. Mom! Runa shouted. Satsuki-sama, stop! Why? The old men showed their wrinkled throats, letting out a croaking laugh. They shook with laughter, as though the thank you woman's screams after having her eyes crushed were too hilarious not to, then collapsed like paper that had been wadded into a ball and vanished into the void. There was a bubbling of blood, and then the screams stopped. Satsuki Aruma released her grasp, and Runa's mother collapsed powerlessly. Satsuki-sama. As Runa Arumi stared vacantly upward, Satsuki Aruma's bloody hand reached out for her. There was an incredible scream. That scream, filled with something like the pain and terror of being skinned alive, made me and Toriko cover our ears despite ourselves. Help! The voice released from Runa's throat looked twisted, like barbed wire. At the end of it, the 2 fourth kinds were still cowering on the ground. The voice wrapped around them and dove inside their bodies. The 4th kinds rose, groaning. The many-fingered one crawled towards Runa, and the other one began rubbing the air with his swollen head. The voice was soon replaced by a gurgling sound. When Satsuki Aruma let go, Runa shook her head back and forth sluggishly, standing where she was. Her back was still to us, so I couldn't see the look on her face. The many-fingered fourth kind finally reached Runa's feet. His fingers sought out Satsuki's shoes, wrapped around them, trying to sneak from her ankles up to her thighs. The fourth kind's back swelled up, and countless hands and fingers burst from it with explosive force. The other parts of his body continued spreading out across the ground. It was as though a tree made of human parts had suddenly sprouted. The tree of meat grew high, writhing and convulsing in pain, then suddenly blacked at its furthest extremities and began to wither. There was a sprinkling sound as the nails fell from his rotting fingers. The big-headed fourth kind was shaking his body wildly. His head struck the air where there was nothing, creating silver waves as it did. The thin hairs around the circumference of his head connected those waves, eventually beginning to form a gate. I could see the dark warehouse on the other side of that silver phosphorescence. "Toriko, let's run," I said, and Toriko seemed to snap to her senses as she looked at me. If she resisted at this point, I was ready to punch her out and drag her with me, but Toriko bit her lip and nodded. "Kazakura-san." I turned around, and Kazakura was down on the ground, covering her head. "Are you okay?" "No, I can't take any more of this. Get me out of here quickly." The powerless whisper came back. For someone with as little resistance to fear as Kozakura, this situation had to be utter hell. Toriko and I supported one another as we got to our feet. Runa was still standing there, in front of Satsuki, beneath the tree of meat. "Runa, you alive?" I asked hesitantly. Runa slowly turned to look at me. When I saw her face, I gulped. Her mouth was open wider than I had ever seen. Her lower jaw had fallen, and her tongue lolled out of it. That face, drooling, with her eyes rolled back into her head, had lost all sanity. Raising her arms and thrusting them out before her, like some sort of zombie, Runa began shambling towards us. It was like she was trying to get as far away from Satsuki Aruma, who was behind her, as she could. Toriko and I looked at one another. There was no need to talk. In an instant, we knew we had both thought the same thing. We had to save Runa. 10 minutes ago, I would have been able to abandon her without much hesitation. I mean, if you thought about it with a clear head, she was our enemy. For me, she was the head of a cult, and for Toriko, she was... No. Even if I decided not to think about that aspect, there were still way too many things about her that pissed me off. Still, I couldn't abandon her. It was the thank you woman who changed my mind. When I heard the scream Runa let out when Satsuki Aruma killed her mother, I just couldn't. Toriko and I took a firm hold of Runa's arms and pulled. Though she still had that crazy look on her face, with her jaw open so wide it might get dislocated, Runa fell towards us. I looked back over my shoulder. The gate that Runa's slave, the big-headed fourth kind, had opened was already more than large enough for us to pass through. "Sorowo, you take Kozakura." "Got it. You go on ahead." I left Runa to Toriko and rushed to Kozakura's side. "We're running. Stand up." "I can't." "Okay. Fine then. Hold on." Kozakura hugged me tightly. With her arms around my neck, I could stand up and lift her. By pure chance, I ended up carrying her like a princess. Thanks to her being the size of an elementary schooler, even with my muscles, I could still just barely manage to do it. It may not have been elegant, but I stumbled forward with my legs spread wide and rushed through the gate. It being a direct gate with almost no interstitial space saved us. I walked 2-3 steps on the boundary between worlds and was able to return to the surface. "Sorowo, hurry!" Toriko shouted from the surface world. It was as I was rushing to her side. There was an intense pain in the back of my head, pulling it backwards. As Toriko looked at me, her face stiffened with surprise. Raising her head from my chest and looking over my shoulder, Kozakura got the same look on her face. "Satsuki." That one word uttered by Toriko told me everything about the situation. Satsuki had grabbed the hair on the back of my head. The hair I had let grow so long I could tie it back. The hair on the back of my head, which Toriko and Kozakura had liked so much. The hair that, the more it grew, the more it made me look more like Satsuki Aruma. That hair. "Toriko, pass!" I shouted, and Toriko's eyes widened as she seemed to regain her senses. I shook free of the arms Kozukura had wrapped around me and threw her little body towards Toriko. "Ugh!" Kozukura screamed as she traced a short parabola in the air, and Toriko caught her just short of hitting the ground. During that time, I pulled out the knife I had stolen from one of the male cultists and unsheathed it. I put my hands behind my head and put the blade to my hair. The knife had a good edge to it. Slice, slice, slice. 3 cuts, and my head was free. The excess momentum sent me stumbling forward, and Toriko and Kozukura both grabbed me, pulling me out of the other world. I turned back, and my eyes met with Satsuki Aruma's, who was looking at me through the shrinking gate. I don't know what she did to our savior, the big-headed fourth kind, but his head was crushed into a crescent shape, and a black bodily fluid oozed from a hole I couldn't be sure was a mouth or a nose as he convulsed. I saw Satsuki Aruma's lips moving, so I responded. "No, I mean, it was red that day." Satsuki Aruma spoke again. I vigorously shook my head. I vigorously shook my head. "No, I did not promise, and if I cut it loose, I couldn't live, and horned faces would come flowing, wouldn't they? Then there wouldn't be a trial, right?" "Sorobo?" "I do not know when the end will come, but that is unforgivable as a person, right? Because I cannot forgive that." "Sorobo, what are you saying? Sorobo?" "When I burn, and only my bones are left, I will definitely come..." I was conversing with Satsuki Aruma, but that came to a sudden end when I was slapped on the cheek. The next thing I knew, Toriko had grabbed my shoulder and was looking closely at my face. "Toriko, why did you hit me?" I asked in a daze as I slowly came to my senses. What was I saying just now? During the conversation, it totally felt like it had meaning. Over Toriko's shoulder, I could see the gate shrinking. The shining blue of those evil eyes faded out of view, and the hole in space completely closed. Toriko turned back too, looking at the place where the gate once was. I remained tense, worrying that Satsuki Aruma might reopen the gate and come after us, but after a minute or so, I was able to convince myself she wasn't planning to for now, and I was finally able to let out the breath that I'd been holding all this time. Stumbling, I put my hand down on the desk. The thank you woman's files were still on top of it. Satsuki Aruma's notebook and the mirror stone were both nowhere to be found. The light of the morning sun shone through the skylight at a shallow angle, illuminating the upper part of the wall. The shadows near the floor remained thick. I leaned on my desk, slowly sitting down. Runa Arumi lay at my feet. She was in a bad state, but still breathing. Her face looked so bad, Toriko took off her jacket and placed it over the top of it. Then, pulling out her phone, she asked Magiwa to arrange for a doctor or a nurse. While I idly listened to her, Kozukura sat down to the left of me. "You came to save me, huh, Sorobo-chan?" "I guess I did, yeah." "I did too, Kozukura," Toriko added, having finished her call. Kozukura shook her head. "I thought you two didn't care what happened to me." "Nuh-uh, that's not true anymore," Toriko said. "Well, we couldn't leave you now," I added. "What do you mean, anymore, you idiots? You're making me cry here," Kozukura laughed weakly. "Sorobo, your hair..." Toriko reached out, stroking my disheveled hair. "It's just gone back to its original length," I said. Toriko nodded, seemingly satisfied with that answer. Come to think of it, in the self-responsibility series of ghost stories, one thing listed as a common feature of them was a depiction of someone cutting their hair short to escape from a curse. When I noticed that I had acted in accordance with the ghost story without realizing it, I felt kind of uneasy. Maybe I'll cut my hair too," Kozukura grumbled. Unsure what she meant, I didn't know how to react. Kozukura turned her neck until it cracked, then let out a deep sigh. "I'm at my limit. Hold on, Sorobo-chan, lend me your lap." Before she'd even finished speaking, Kozukura laid her head down on my thighs and closed her eyes. I could feel the tension fade and her body go limp. Kozakura-san? I called her name out of concern, but all that came back was the sound of deep breathing. I didn't know if she'd passed out or gone to sleep. Whichever it was, she didn't need first aid, so I kept leaning back against the desk. Toriko sat down next to me, on the opposite side from Kozakura. The conversation came to an end, and we remained silent for some time. I was the first to open my mouth. You're not going to get mad because I kept quiet about Satsuki-san, huh? There was no answer. Even if you do, I have no intent of apologizing. It's crazy trying to follow her. Toriko remained silent. She didn't react to my comment at all. I went on, saying whatever came to my mind. I'm glad you came quietly when I suggested we run. If you'd said but or let me go, I was planning to deck you one. You? Hit me? Toriko let out a listless laugh. Is that weird? A little, yeah. I was serious. Yeah, I know. Is that really true? You've slapped me plenty of times before now, like that time we almost died from the Kotoribako. I think you really went to town on me then. I think so too. I mean, I got this left hand because I slapped you after the kunekune got you. You were talking nonsense again just now, so my hand moved before I could stop myself. There was something competitive about the way Toriko said that. You're pretty violent, you know that, Toriko? You gonna become a domestic abuser? No. Isn't that kind of an awful thing to say? Toriko pursed her lips, sounding hurt by the suggestion, so I decided not to follow up on it any further. When you took her hand, I thought it was over, I said, and Toriko raised her face to look at me. You met the person you've been longing to meet all this time. My lies were uncovered. I thought, it's over. She's through with me. That's not true at all, Zorowo. Not true at all. Toriko shook her head. Satsuki was important to me, of course, but you're already important to me too. We're accomplices, aren't we? You could trust me a little more, you know? I hadn't expected those words. I felt like there was something warm throbbing deep inside my chest. But is it okay? I mean, it was cold, Toriko said all of a sudden. What was? When I took Satsuki's hand. Toriko rubbed her left hand as she spoke. Her hand was cold. So very cold. It felt like there was no blood flowing through it. It wasn't like that the last time I saw her, Toriko said, seemingly bewildered by her own words. To be honest, I was mad at first. But when it looked like you might be taken away, Zorowo, all of that went out the window. Just the thought that I might lose you too. It was maddening. I was scared. As Toriko stuttered, I reached out and offered my hand. How about mine? Is it cold? Toriko looked me in the eye, then looked down to my hand. Then, gently, she gripped it in both of hers. It's warm, Toriko said in a hoarse voice, and brought my hand to her mouth. Her lips brushed the knuckle of my index finger. Thank you, Zorowo. I love you. When Toriko closed her eyes and whispered that, the warm breath that leaked through her lips brushed my fingers in the back of my hand. That sensation, which raced down the length of my arm, felt numbingly sweet. And that is the end of File 11 and the third novel. Let me catch up here. Let me see. Do I know Rion? Yes. Also, hi, Ing. I think they were the one who I fought in Starlight's intermediate bracket. technically I won my match against them and was going to go to top 8, but I DQ'd myself, so I let them go to top 8 in my place. So makes sense you saw their stream today. Oh, I didn't know they stream. I'll have to check that out. Let me see here. But yes, hello Ing, and hi Fed. Hi Lucia, how you guys doing? You ordered your personal figure today? Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Okay, so that was the end of file 11. We're going to go ahead and get ready to start up here on file 12. Thank you for the hydrate. Let me see here. Hang on. Ah, okay. I can get that for you. Gonna order that Steam controller tomorrow. I'm curious about it. I need to take a look at it. I mean, I like my controller that I have. I've got the 8-bit Dough Ultimate 2 or whatever it is, and it's pretty good. But I'm kind of curious about the Steam one. Was doing a watch along just a bit ago. Oh. Hang on. Let me see. I need to find the button. Biggest regret for getting, or your biggest reason for getting it's the TMRs. What are TMR sensors? While running. Da-da. 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 There you go. I hope that was good. Okay. So I actually have to start up tunnel oh, is it the like the Hall effect things or whatever? Like in the sticks? But okay, let me see here. Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Let me see here. Where is window capture? Window capture. There we are. So here is the cover for the 4th novel of Otherside Picnic. The title of this novel, well, it's the title of one of the files, and it is Overnight on the Other Side. And it's got a picture of, so I guess, okay, yeah, my mouse is visible here. So to put, faces to the names, this is Toriko here, and this is Sorowo. So the point of view character who we've been following is this one. This is Toriko. I've shown pictures of the both of them as we've been going on, as we've been finding them, but still worth looking because they're both cuties. So yeah. It's a big deal that someone like Valve is using it. Usually TMR is only on third-party controllers. Yeah, I'm pretty sure my 8-bit Dough one has that same thing. Oh, wait, less voltage for longer. Oh, maybe mine doesn't. I think mine are Hall effect, but regardless. Okay. So, once again, we are going to be starting more story reading. There's one in particular I'm looking forward to, but it's a couple files ahead, so we're not going to get to it for a little bit, but it is in this novel, so we'll get to it eventually. Okay. File 12. The Matter of That Farm. Chapter 1. Hey, look, it's not that dirty, and we didn't break much, right? What Toriko was saying didn't make Kozakura stop frowning. You're saying this isn't dirty? Sure, it's not broken, but... I know, right? It stinks of violence. The three of us were in Kozakura's house, looking at her bathtub. The house was pretty old, though it looked like the bathroom had been renovated a little, but dirt had been tracked in, and the shower head was lying on the ground. A towel hung from the bathtub's cover, soaked with blood. Like Kozakura said, there was a foreboding sense that something not so peaceful had gone down in this room. Footsteps approached from the hallway, and Megiwa of the DS lab poked his head in. The cleaners will be arriving a little late. They were saying that they drove down a one-way street in front of the station and got lost. I apologize for the wait. No, it's fine. Though Kozakura was acting a little short with him, Megiwa continued in a polite and respectful tone. I will handle the rest, so please, Kozakura-san and everyone else, sit down and relax. Though, I suppose it is a little odd for me to say that. You're damn right it is. This is my house. Kozakura turned and left the bathroom, still fuming. Toriko and I followed. When I walked past Megiwa, I looked up at him. You were playing with the water, right? I asked. Excuse me? You said something about borrowing towels, I said, and Megiwa's smile deepened. 3 days prior, Kozakura and I were abducted off the street by agents of a brainwashed cult. They worshipped Runa Arumi, a high school girl who was able to entrance people using the special voice that had come from the other world. They originally planned to abduct Toriko, but there was a mix-up, and they grabbed Kozakura instead. The cultists broke into Kozakura's house, making a second attempt to capture Toriko. Tomato! Hello! Welcome in! Teddy Tomo Raid, let's go! Welcome in, Raiders. Oh my goodness. How was your stream? Oh, it was an art stream? How did that go? I hope it went well. Hello, everybody. Hi, Tomato. Yes, hello, hello. Boop. Yay, boop. Hi, everybody. Hello, everybody who came in with Tomato's Raid. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sukras Yudishigaki, Kumajo in training. I'm a variety streamer. You got a raid and run? Absolutely no worries whatsoever. Guys, please go give Sneaky Tomatoes some love. They are awesome. Thank you for the raid. I will do my best to give your community a very cozy place to land. But yes, I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. I mostly focus on retro style content. I do also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising, so if you enjoy fighting games as well, I do that too. Also on Sunday nights, I do cozy content and ASMR streams. Tonight we are doing a soft-spoken story time. I am reading from a light novel called Otherside Picnic. We are on file number 12, which was called The Matter of That Farm. There is an overarching narrative to the series. However, most of the stories are relatively self-contained. This one is kind of a more direct follow-up to the last one, but the goings-on in it are mostly self-contained. So, the best way I can think to describe it is it's about two college-age girls who find gates to an alternate world. And I guess to put it, the easiest way I can think to put it is that they wind up hunting SCP monsters effectively in that other world. It's not exactly correct, but that's kind of the closest analog I can think of, because it's a very, it's based in Japanese net lore. So it is also a Yuri series, and we have it's a very slow burn of a Yuri series. Don't have time to hang around? Absolutely, Lucia. Please sleep well. Good night. It is a Yuri series. It's a very, very slow burn of a Yuri series in terms of the actual relationship advancing. That said, we literally finally got one of the two telling the other that she loves her. So that happened at the very end of the last file. So if I recall correctly, our protagonist is galactically dense, and so it takes some time for that relationship to start really moving, because once again, galactically dense, and so literally being told I love you didn't quite, do it. So, but we'll get to that. So, but yes, if you guys need to raid and run, I completely understand. Please take care of yourselves post stream. But if you do want to hang out, listen to the story. There are some, vaguely creepy elements in it. So, just be aware of that. However, the story is, more kind of, creepy and weird in kind of like I said, kind of that SCP net lore kind of way than actually like super scary or like super horror. So in any case, we do also, this is also still an ASMR stream. Let me pull this up here. We do have audio triggers. Bracing for the jump scare. Yeah. What was I saying? Yes, so there are the audio triggers you can request. I will get to any triggers in between chapters though, but if you do have a particular ASMR triggers you like, let me know. Go ahead. There is a channel point redeem for that, and I will get to them as I can. The cultists broke into Kozakura's house, making a second attempt to capture Toriko, but that's where Toriko and Mugiwa, who had rushed to her side when she contacted him, were lying in wait. Once they dispatched the attackers, Mugiwa had interrogated them to learn where Kozakura and I had been taken. Though, obviously, extracting information from mad cultists wasn't going to be easy. Let me do that real quick. Cool, okay. When I asked him how he did it, Mugiwa had said that he merely borrowed the bathroom and some towels and that they played with the water for a bit. Now, I cannot claim to be experienced, but from what people tell me, when you want to get a person to tell you something, the most effective way is to use water. It makes no mess, and it leaves no wounds. It also does not require any special preparation. Mugiwa gently explained. He didn't have to spell it out. Even I could tell he was talking about torture. The director of DS Research Encouragement and Association, Yoshiro Mugiwa, who looked like a butler in his three-piece suit, was more versed in violence than you would expect just by looking at him. But I knew that his forearms, hidden by the long-sleeved shirt he was wearing, were covered in Mayan tattoos. Scary. Still, if Mugiwa hadn't efficiently extracted the information from the cultists and then rushed to our aid with Toriko, they would have shot me dead and brainwashed Kozakura. So, obviously, I was grateful, but I was still freaked out. I mean, I was just a university student after all. Could you please not talk about that dangerous stuff in my house? Pardon me? Mugiwa apologized politely when Kozakura complained. We walked down the hallway and headed back to the reception room. The hall was covered in footprints and littered with metal wire and plastic bottles, which they must have used to make traps for the intruders. A number of nails had been hammered into the walls, too. We had wrapped green masking tape around them to make them stand out as a temporary protection. Back in the reception room, we sat down on the sofa. Mugiwa remained standing. Should I put on a pot of tea? Oh, please do. Again, why are you answering, Zorowo? This is my house. Got it? Though she said that, Kozakura didn't actually object to it. Mugiwa made enough for everyone. In between sips of hot green tea, Kozakura grumbled. You all just go around doing whatever you want to my house. I apologize. It was an emergency, so we had no choice. The DS Lab will pay for all the necessary repairs. Glad to hear it. Can you renovate the place too? Certainly. I would like to do it in a way that was in line with your desires, so if you could... It was a joke. I only need you to tidy the place up. Hey, Zorowo. Toriko, who had been quiet for a while now, looked at me hesitantly. What? So, for the after party, what do you want to do? Huh? Me and Kozakura both stared at Toriko. Well, we went to the other world and came back, didn't we? So we've got to have a party. Toriko was oddly fixated on going for an after party, where we would eat and drink each time we explored the other world. It confused me at first, but it helped me feel like we'd returned to normalcy, so I thought it was a good custom for when we changed sides from the other side to the surface. Kozakura's teacup clattered as she set it down and stood up. Okay, I've got it. We're going for meat. Huh? But I don't have that much money. Kozakura looked at me and snorted. It's on me today. You did save me, after all. You're amazing, Kozakura. You're the best, Kozakura-san. Kozakura glared at us. Wow, you two are mercenaries. Well, whatever. Let's go. Huh? Right now? Aren't the cleaners coming? I will be here to watch the place while you are away, so please, go ahead. With Megiddo sending us off like that, the three of us headed out for an impromptu trip to eat. It probably wouldn't have been a good idea to leave her house completely in the hands of other people, so Kozakura needed to be able to head home in a hurry if any issues arose. That's why I decided to look for a place in front of the nearest station, Tsukuji Koen. I want to eat some good meat. That was Kozakura's preference, and she was paying, so Toriko and I just nodded our heads and looked for a restaurant. We entered a bar and grill that was conveniently open all day, and started off with rosé wine, even though it was still bright out. I'd never thought of rosé as anything more than that kind of pinkish sweet stuff, but the taste of it was crisper than I'd expected, and I liked it. Next we ordered prosciutto, flame-seared meat sushi, and red wine. We had the staff cook us some expensive meat that cost 2,000 yen per 100 grams, and devoured the steaks after watching them sizzle on a hot iron grill. I think all three of us were big eaters, but even taking that into consideration, we had an extra large appetite today. After fighting the cult, then surviving an encounter with a dangerous entity from the other world, our bodies were craving the nutrition that needed to bounce back from all of that. A dangerous entity from the other world. I watched Toriko and Kozakura as I cut my steak. What were they thinking about? The woman they'd once known and been close with had appeared before them, now transformed into a horrible monster. That woman, who I had been catching glimpses of for a long time now, had finally shown herself in a form Toriko and Kozakura could see too. Even with all their lingering feelings, they still harbored for her. Those two had to understand she wasn't the person they once knew. Have a good one, Fad. Sleep well. Thank you for stopping by. They must have given up now, right? No, I'm not so sure. If they were still hung up on her after seeing that monster, there was no helping them. But I couldn't let my guard down. Even though I ignored everything Toriko and Kozakura said or did when they got sentimental, I could tell that their feelings for her still ran deep. That woman, Satsuki Uruma, the one who had murdered Rina Arumi's mother in front of our eyes, then nearly killed Rina herself. We managed to escape to the surface world, but neither Toriko nor Kozakura had said a word about Satsuki Uruma since. Maybe they talked about her when I wasn't around. Even if they did, I didn't care. Kozakura's phone started vibrating on the table. It sounds like cleanup's done, Kozakura said after looking at the screen. That sure was fast, huh? See, I told you. We didn't break much, Toriko quipped. Yeah, I know. Don't look so smug about it. Kozakura sent a reply, then knocked back her third glass of wine. I guess I'll head back once I finish this. I can't make him watch the house forever. Mikiba-san's good at looking after people, huh? He makes a hefty salary, after all. Hey, you could just act grateful. You're such a contrarian, Kozakura. I don't want to hear that from you. Their alcohol-fueled bickering dragged on like that, so I decided to intervene. You were saying before he gets a lot of money from the government and businesses, right? His facility looks after the family of some wealthy people. He's got to be making a hefty profit. The DS Lab had existed since the 1990s, and they secretly provided care to those whose bodies and minds had been warped by the influence of the other side. They apparently started out as a group of business executives, diet members, and researchers who were attempting to explore the other world. I was told that because they cared for the victims who had been so thoroughly destroyed there was no hope of recovery, they still received a significant amount of funding from the families. As the person in charge, Mikiba was able to live quite an elegant lifestyle. Kozakura worked with the DS Lab and arranged for them to purchase any artifacts we picked up from the other world. In a way, the reason we could eat this delicious meat right now was that some of that charity had come our way. It was already evening outside. As I watched the people being spewed out of the station one after another, I caught myself unconsciously searching for that woman in the crowd. Frowning, I looked down at the wine left in my glass. Because the phantom of Satsukiyaruma had been stalking me for a while now, I'd grown used to remaining alert. That made me upset. "Something wrong?" Toriko asked. She must have noticed a change in my expression. I was thinking. "What about?" "About what happened yesterday." Not wanting to give a straight answer, I dodged the question. "Oh, it was pretty awful, huh?" Toriko's brow furrowed as she said that. It looked like she hadn't picked up on my evasiveness this time. "Yesterday, we were at the DS Lab building in Tameki-sano. We had been called in for a job only Toriko and I could do, cleaning up after Runa's cult. Runa Arumi, this was apparently not her real name. Migiwa told me what it was, but I forgot it, was an obsessive fan of Satsukiyaruma, despite never having even met the woman. She used the hypnotic voice that she had gotten from the other world to brainwash people and turn them into her believers. While Runa Arumi was unconscious after being taken down by Satsukiyaruma, the cult formed by her followers still remained. The ones that Migiwa and Toriko had captured were held prisoner in the DS Lab's medical facility. When we entered their room, there was a bunch of men and women, all patched and bandaged up, glaring at us with unmasked hostility. They needed Toriko and me there to undo their brainwashing. With my right eye, I could perceive the voice coiled around the fanatic's head like some sort of living creature. While I looked at them, Toriko would grab that voice with her left hand and yank it out. When she pulled that thing out through their ears, the cultists stared vacantly at us, as if they'd suddenly woken up. Their expressions, without exceptions, slowly turned to one of despair. "We were lucky it wasn't genuine mind control," Kozakura commented as she stood back and watched us pull the voice out of the people one after another. "Lucky? How is this lucky?" Toriko muttered dubiously. The now ex-believers who had been devoiced all retained their memories of the time they'd been brainwashed by Runa Arumi. Some wailed at the sudden sense of loss, or clutched their heads, realizing the abnormal mental state they'd been in. I didn't know this for sure, but some of them had probably done unspeakable things while under her influence, maybe even cast away their families and friends. The hospital room filled with the cries of despair, only growing in number as we continued. It was a disheartening sight. Runa Arumi's brainwashing was powerful and fast-acting, but just pulling it out breaks it, so it's easy to sort out. If this was a more mundane form of brainwashing, it would take a lot more time to deprogram them. I'm saying this is better than that, at least. As Kozakura said that, perhaps unconsciously, she kept digging at her own ear. When she was abducted with me, Kozakura had been brainwashed with Runa Arumi's voice too. She might have been even more disturbed by what she was seeing here than we were. I had some thoughts about all of this too. I wondered if my father and grandmother, who'd been driven mad by a cult after Mom's passing, could have gone back to normal if their brainwashing was broken like this. Or would the bonds of trust we lost stay severed, even after being freed from the brainwashing? Not that thinking about it would do me any good now. By the time the voice had been pulled from all of them, we were completely exhausted. The DS Lab's medical staff were busily running from one ex-fanatic to the next. The doctor with the shaved head, who had recently been wounded with a nail gun, was running his show, giving orders with one arm in a sling. They were clearly short-handed, but according to Migiwa, they would be bringing in more people soon. In fact, there were already a number of people in the building, working to repair the damage done to the furnishings and equipment during the cultist attack. We were too tired to care, though, so we splurged on a taxi to take us back home. Maybe the reason Kozakura was so enthusiastic about eating some good meat today was she wanted to burn off the stress from yesterday. We finished eating and headed outside while we waited for Kozakura to settle the bill. "What are you two doing after this? Heading home?" Kozakura asked. I looked at Toriko before answering. "We'll stop by your place first. I still need to talk to Migiwa about what happens next." "Oh, yeah?" Kozakura replied curtly. We started walking down the street, evening having now turned to night. Toriko was on my right, and Kozakura on my left. When I noticed we were all walking in a row, it felt a little weird. I wasn't good at walking with more than two people. when there were... Oh my goodness! Ursa! Hello! Welcome in! Strong Bear Raid, let's go! What were you doing tonight? How was Digimon Story? How was your stream? Thank you so much for the raid. Welcome in, everybody. Hello, Raiders. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sucrose Yurishigaki, Kumasho in training. I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. I mostly focus on retro style content when I'm not doing ASMR. I also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising, so if you enjoy fighting games, I do that as well. And Sunday nights, I do cozy content and ASMR streams. You beat the game, fantastic! Oh my goodness. Tonight we are doing a soft-spoken story time. I'm reading from a light novel called Otherside Picnic. It is a, I would say, urban fantasy slash vaguely kind of, not full horror, but it's creepy. And a Yuri light novel. The Yuri is pretty slow burn, but we are definitely at a point now where things are starting to progress. And the very short way I can put it is it's two college-age girls who discover gates to a different world and find what's effectively creepypasta monsters or SCP monsters on the other side, and start working with a science organization to basically bring artifacts and monster remains back for them to study. It's, like I said, it's kind of on the creepier side, but it's not really horror. It's mostly just like I said, SCP is kind of the point of comparison. So, in any case, though, if you and your raiders need to raid and run, I completely understand. Please take care of yourselves post-stream. But if you do want to hang out and listen to some story time, and just kind of get a little cozy, you love SCP content? Nice. But yeah, if you want to hang out, listen to some story time, and kind of get cozy, you're more than welcome to be here, and I'm super happy to have you. Ursa, if you have a particular ASMR trigger you enjoy and you want to ask for one, please let me know. There is the list of the things that I do. I get to ASMR requests in between chapters while I'm doing readings, but don't worry about a channel point redeem for yours. As a thank you for the raid, I'm more than happy to do anything you like. Also, not required though. If you just want to hang out and listen to the story, or if you need to head out, totally fine. Don't worry about it. Alright. But yes, guys, Ursa Supreme is another fellow bear VTuber. Super cool. Please go check him out. Nothing in particular you really appreciated? Of course. We started walking down the street, evening now having turned to night. Toriko was on my right, and Kozakura on my left. When I noticed we were all walking in a row, it felt a little weird. I wasn't good at walking with more than two people. When there were so many of us, it blocked the road, and I worried we were getting in the way of people behind us. That's why I tended to walk in front of the other two. Was it because I was walking slow? I guess I'll go on ahead, I thought. Then, nah, no need, I reconsidered. The road wasn't that crowded, so I didn't need to worry about it. I was feeling a bit tipsy as I walked alongside them to the station. It was autumn now, and there was a slight chill in the air. The moon floating in the still slightly blue sky shone brightly as it looked down on us. You're playing for like 11 hours and you're exhausted? Absolutely, please sleep well, Ursa. Thank you again so much for the raid. I will do my best to keep your community nice and cozy. And I hope you have a lovely sleep. Thank you again so much. I appreciate it. Okay. Just checking to make sure there wasn't anything else here I missed. Nope. Okay. Chapter 2. 2 days later, on a Saturday afternoon, Toriko and I got off the Seibu Ikebukuro line at Hano Station. When we exited through the ticket gate, a large van drove up to us. The passenger side window was open, and I could see Miggy was standing there, so it was immediately apparent that this was our ride, here to pick us up. Remembering how my abduction had played out, though, I still tensed up a bit despite myself. As I unconsciously backed away, the soft sensation of a palm on my arm brought me back to my senses. I looked down to find that, at some point, Toriko had taken my hand. You okay? Yeah. Thanks. Toriko looked closely at me as I answered, then nodded and let go of my hand. Please, get in, Miggy said, and the automatic door into the back seat slid open. There were 2 rows of seats that were off to the right-hand side of the car. There was a woman sitting in the front row of the seats, and she gave us a slight nod when our eyes met. She wore little makeup, a long-sleeved shirt stuffed into her loose-fitting pants, a waterproof jacket, and thick boots. The driver's side was occupied by a white man who was dressed similarly. He wore a pair of thin sunglasses that looked like they were maybe designed to be used in sports, and his face was half covered with a beard. In the passenger seat, Magiba wore his usual 3-piece suit. We had come in with our exploration attire, since it was easier to do things outdoors that way, so Magiba looked a little out of place next to the rest of us in the car. Toriko and I took our seats in the rear row, the door shut, and we drove off. Magiba turned to talk to us. I am grateful that you would come all this way, Kamakoshi-san, Nishina-san. I look forward to working with the 2 of you today. Sure. Who are all these people? I asked hesitantly. The woman in the row of the seats in front of us answered. I'm Sasazuka of Torchlight. Nice to meet you. Oh, hi. I'm Kamakoshi. I'm Nishina. She offered her hand, so I hesitantly took it. Her palms felt hard, and her grip was firm. The business card she handed me said Torchlight Inc., CEO/security consultant/overseas travel coordinator, Nico Sasazuka. Security consultant? Overseas travel coordinator? As Toriko and I looked at the card, cocking our heads to the side in confusion, Magiba explained. Torchlight is a private military corporation. When things like this happen, we need to heighten our security, which is why I brought them in. Private military corporation? I felt like I had heard those words before, but it wasn't clicking right now. Were they the military equivalent of contract workers, maybe? Is that vehicle that's been following us with you too? I looked out the rear window when Toriko said that, and yeah, she was right. There was another van that looked like the same model behind us. I hadn't even noticed. Yeah, that's one of our cars. When Sasazuka nodded, Toriko looked a little relieved. Isn't it hard running a PMC in Japan? Toriko asked, and Sasazuka smiled slightly in amusement. It is, because normally we aren't able to use guns. Her eyes were on Toriko's backpack. It looked like she'd been told we were carrying weapons. Well, did she know about the other world too? Migiba-san, just how much have you explained to them about the situation? When I tried to ask that without saying too much, Migiba picked up on what I was really asking. Torchlight is aware of the existence of the UBL, as well as the dangers of it. When he said that so easily, I was actually more confused. UBL, that was short for Ultra Blue Landscape, the DS lab's name for the other side, but even if someone told them a world like that existed, would they just believe it without question? We've worked with DS for quite some time. We're aware of how things came to be the way they are. Obviously, we'll be keeping things confidential, so don't worry about that. So, basically, you guys are like the DS Lab's special ops team? Toriko asked. Migiba and Sasazuka looked at one another. I guess you could say it's more of a personal connection, really. Yes, it's hard to bring up things regarding the UBL out into the open, so I turned to Torchlight, who I had personal dealings with in the past. Well, it's more that Migiba-san worked with us a long time ago, before he started his current business. Migiba hired a PMC through his own personal connections? He used to work with them a long time ago. The more I imagined his past, the shadier it got. I felt like getting soldiers to guard us was excessive, but considering where we were going, maybe we needed to be prepared. Because we were headed to the cult compound in the mountains of Hano, the farm. Chapter 3. Oh, before I do that, let me double check here. Cool. Give me 1 second. Chapter 3. There was one more thing Toriko and I needed to do to clean up after Runa's cult. Deal with the farm. This facility was built by the cult based on the famous true ghost story, The Farm in the Mountains. The original story was a detailed report about an odd place in the mountains that the narrator entered. It looks like a farm at first glance, but there isn't a single cow in the barn, and there are no people at all. Between a washroom that has too many stalls, a place that looks like a lab with shattered glass all over it, and a mountainous pile of charcoal, the building itself is weird too. The narrator makes his way into the second floor of a warehouse with no stairs, and witnesses a tatami room littered with countless dolls that have paper talismans stuck on them, and the word "help" written on sliding doors with paint. Hi, Lewis. How's it going? The buildings in the mountains of Hano that Kozukura and I had been abducted to was built using this famous ghost story as a model. The unused barn with the room with "help" written on it and a number of other elements had matched it closely, so I figured it out in no time. In order to get closer to Satsuki Aruma, the object of her worship, Runa had tried to contact the other world, and to do so, she replicated the situation from a pre-existing ghost story. She was partially successful. It was true that she managed to open a gate, and she had a number of fourth kinds, people who had been altered by contact with the other world, imprisoned here. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Runa's ceremony to summon the other world actually worked, even if the result was not what Runa intended. Even with her cult destroyed, the building was still there. It was too dangerous to just leave it. That being the case, Megiwa had asked me and Toriko to come out and take stock of the current situation at the farm. The van bumped up and down as we drove along the unpaved road. Bushes and branches on either side of the street scraped the vehicle. The winding road was too thin to pass another car or do a U-turn. Once we had climbed for a while, the road widened, and we came to a corner. There was a steel drum by the roadside, and the words 30 more meters were written on it in paint. They replicated this too, I mumbled despite myself. They did what? That's something that appeared in The Farm in the Mountains too. Once I explained, Toriko looked at the drum dubiously as we passed it. It's just a sign, right? On its own, yes. As we were talking, I spotted the next drum. It said 20 more meters. I didn't notice it the first time we came. It was night, after all, and it was pitch dark, too. When Toriko and Megiwa said that, it finally hit me. These two had climbed this twisty mountain road without any lights in order to save Kozukura and me. The drums with the signs continued past there. 15 more meters. 10 more meters. The actual distance was far wider than what was written on them, and they weren't at equal intervals. It looked like they hadn't measured at all, but put them at each corner. When the last drum, which had destination written on it, appeared, my field of vision suddenly widened. There was a group of buildings in the middle of a lot surrounded by trees. We had reached the farm. The ground had been leveled, then covered with gravel, similar to an unpaved parking lot, creating a plaza with buildings surrounding it on three sides. Our van came to a sudden stop just after entering the square. You two, wait here for a moment, Megiwa said, then opened the door and stepped out. The driver exited the vehicle at the same time. Sasuzuka got up out of her seat and climbed out of the vehicle through the sliding door. While I watched, wondering what I should do, they opened the back of the van and started unloading some heavy-looking bags and plastic baskets containing equipment. When I saw multiple shotguns come out of the bag, I was shocked. Hadn't they just said they couldn't use guns inside Japan? The torchlight people skillfully loaded the guns with bullets and pulled the slides. The people who had piled out of the other van were prepping their equipment too. Megiwa came back to the vehicle and called out to us. I am sorry for the wait. Please, come this way, both of you. Toriko and I both stepped out of the van. The torchlight members had scattered around the vehicle and were watching the surrounding area. More than half the people who had been in the other van looked foreign. Most of them were buff guys, too. The only women were Sasuzuka, as well as one other woman who looked Hispanic. So you do have guns, Toriko said, and Megiwa smiled weakly. These belong to the cultists who attacked the DS lab. When we questioned them about the details after you broke their brainwashing, it turns out they had acquired them through barely legal means. So, after discussing the matter, we took them off their hands. I see. So there are places to get guns if you need them, huh? Sasazuka came back from talking to her people. Migiwa-san, we're good to go. Migiwa nodded. Understood. Very well. Are the two of you ready? Hold on. We'll get our guns too. As we went to open our backpacks, Sasazuka stopped us. That's quite all right. We'll be protecting you this time. Huh? But this is our job. Please, let us handle it. Toriko and I looked at one another. Oh, yeah? Well, okay. I had my misgivings. Though I had my misgivings, I wasn't up for arguing about it with a professional right now. We grudgingly stopped without opening our bags. Once Sasazuka and Migiwa had turned around, Toriko brought her face close to mine and whispered, I'll bet they don't want us amateurs swinging guns around. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, pros like her and her men weren't going to want a novice like me carrying a gun next to them. I could understand. But even though I got it, I still wasn't amused by it. I may not be, but I think you're pretty used to handling a gun, Toriko. I didn't really mean anything by it, but Toriko, who'd been furrowing her brow, her wariness plain to see, suddenly brightened up. Uh-huh? Oh gosh, you give me way too much credit. Despite her saying that, I was surprised that Toriko seemed so blatantly happy to hear it. What? Was she getting all giddy over a compliment? Wait, had she always been this easy? Hello, Papa Spade. Welcome in, welcome in. How's it going? Give me 1 second here before we move on to the next chapter. Okay. Not bad. Came in for ASMR. Fantastic. I will, triggers are still available. But I will get to them in between chapters. Chapter 4. With the torchlight people now guarding us, we headed towards the farm. It looked like a number of them would stay near the vans as lookouts. They were calling them Base and Team B and so on, so they were presumably going to be handling communications and backup. Something Sasazuka told me is that the soldiers in private military contractors are called operators. It made me think of people who redirect telephone calls, so it didn't feel quite right. Their kit was light, and they wore their shirts tucked into their pants with a thin matching jumper over the top. When you saw them with a shotgun, it was like some officials from the village office had armed themselves to go hunt a bear. That said, because they were all well-built and wearing sporty sunglasses and goggles, they gave off a completely different vibe. The way they moved was sharp and professional, too. It reminded me of the guys from the Pale Horse Battalion. The operators communicated using a wireless intercom system. They gave me and Toriko an earpiece so we could hear the orders and reports flying back and forth. The building surrounding the plaza was divided into 3 parts. Sasazuka called the one in front of us the residence building, the one on the right the factory, and the building Kazakura and I... Wait. I skipped something there. The building surrounding the plaza was divided into 3 parts. Sasazuka called the one in front of us the residence building, the one on the right the factory, and the one on the left the cattle barn. We started by heading to the factory, the building Kozakura and I were initially taken to when we were abducted. The day after the attack on the DS lab, we came here again and captured the remaining cultists, but it remains a possibility that there are remnants. Please, take due caution. Migiwa said as he walked in front of us. Huh? Migiwa-san, you came back after that day? I asked him, surprised. Toriko must not have known either because her eyes widened. The day after the attack, you were super busy, right? Wasn't it hard for you? If I am to be wholly honest, yes, it was. We could not simply abandon the cultists we captured while rescuing Kamakoshi-san, but I needed to take command of the DS lab building too. I quickly got my staff together, divided them between here and the building, contacted the relevant parties, and, well, it is my job to do all of that. I'd been living peacefully for quite a while, so it made me break into a cold sweat. I felt like Migiwa was more relaxed now than when we first met him. Oh. Hang on, we have a picture of, that is what Migiwa looks like right there. So, I'll leave this up while I get through this page. The Runa Urumi incident must have made it so he could pull more money out of his sponsors, was Kozakure's conjecture. The DS Lab had been a dead organization before now, according to her, only maintaining the status quo, but now they might be coming back to life. I wasn't exactly thrilled to hear that. I had no hostility towards Mugiwa, but it would be trouble to have more unwanted people coming to the other world. While I was thinking about all this, Toriko took my hand again, and I looked up. My eyes met hers as she walked alongside me, and she smiled. It was a shy smile, like she was trying to reassure me, and for a moment, it chased all the worries out of my head. What? Did she want me to say something? While I was still confused, the point man of our unit entered the factory. The rest of them pressed themselves up against the wall. The operators were alert, their guns trained on the other buildings and trees. The first floor is clear. Roger that, we'll move forward, Sasuzuka responded over the radio. Then, for our added benefit, added, let's go. We entered the building. There was an open space created by knocking down the walls, large machines we didn't understand the purpose of, and wooden pallets with freight on them. A set of rusty stairs led upwards. In the corner of the first floor, there was something like a break room with a conference table and pipe chairs. The electric kettle and the empty instant ramen cups and plastic bottles filling the trash can were so mundane they actually seemed out of place. The wall was scarred in a distinctive horizontal stretch. That was the work of the spreader on Kozakure's shotgun. We waited for word to come to the second floor, and then proceeded, before coming to a familiar place. It was a windowless room, with several chairs knocked over on the floor. This was the room I woke up in after they kidnapped me. It was also the place where Toriko saved me just when I was about to get killed. Thanks for what you did back then, Toriko, I said, but Toriko shook her head. I'm just sorry we couldn't get here sooner. I let you go through something really scary. What else is new? You're always putting me through scary experiences. Well, yes, but this time it really was dangerous, you know? Toriko's voice was a little loud. I'm just glad you were still alive, Sorowo. When she whispered that last part, I squeezed her hand in return. How does it look, Kamakoshi-san? Huh? The sudden question from Mugiwa snapped me back to my senses. Do you see anything? Oh, right. The reason they brought me was because I could use my right eye to see if there was anything abnormal. I focused my consciousness towards my right eye as I surveyed the factory. I did my best not to focus on any of the people, because if I happened to stare at someone with my right eye, they'd go insane. There was nothing out of the ordinary here. None of the silvery haloing that marked a point of connection with the other world, or the blue light that came from the depths of the UBL. It looks like this place is fine, I said, though it was a memorable spot for me. It looked like we reached a dead end, so we turned back and moved on to the next building. Toriko was holding my hand the whole time. Does her hand feel lonely without a gun in it? If so, I kind of understand. I tried thinking about it that way, but then she gave me that strangely gentle smile again, and I recoiled. What's all that about? As we descended the stairs, we got a report from the guys outside over the radio. Something moved on the third floor of the residence building. What do you mean by something? There was a pause after Sasuzuka's question, and then the answer came back. Cannot confirm. I only saw them for a moment, but someone was definitely there. I think I saw a face. They were looking our way. We looked at one another. Mugiwa raised an eyebrow and talked to Sasuzuka. Do you think there are still remnants? It's possible. Do you think they'd accept an order to surrender? If they are still under Runa Urumi's influence, I doubt it. They must have noticed us, so I think it would be fine to try calling out to them. Huh? Suddenly, I had an unpleasant realization. What's up, Sorobo? Had the fact that she was holding my hand given something away? When Toriko asked that, I spoke up. Mugiwa-san, the last time you came here, did you go to the basement of the cattle barn? The place where the gate to the DS lab was? I did go see it. Were there thick metal doors along the way to the gate? The jail-like area, you mean? We looked at all of the cells, but there was no one there. I groaned as the bad feeling I had proved to be accurate. Seriously? There were fourth kinds in there. At least 2 of them. Oh, dear. While I was trying to flee with Kazakura, I entered the cell of a fourth kind contactee. The fourth kinds had likely been brainwashed by Runa's voice, and they were controlled by the cult. As proof of that, 2 of them had even joined the attack on Dia's lab. There was one especially vicious one that was left behind. If that was the person they saw, they could be pretty dangerous. Thank you for telling me. Sasuzuka-san? Sasuzuka nodded, and then sent orders over the intercom. Everyone, listen up. There's a high probability that the enemy is a vicious UBL contactee. Remain alert. Roger. The response came immediately. We left the factory and returned to the plaza. Our next destination was the residence building. Chapter 5. The residence building was a wide 3-story structure, and glass windows lined the corridor that faced the plaza. It was built a lot like a school. The squad headed towards the entrance to the first floor. Immediately on the right when we entered was a small reception window, like you might see at a hospital, and a dirty curtain blowing in the wind. One of the operators pulled back the curtain with the end of his shotgun, then let out a grunt and came to a halt. "What's up?" Sasuzuka asked. For a moment I thought there were people. It was a photograph. A photo? The door next to the receptionist window was open, and I could see inside. The first thing that jumped out at me was 2 figures sitting across a table from one another. Then, an instant later, I realized my mistake. The room was empty, with no people or even furniture. However, pasted on the opposite wall were countless photographs in the shape of a table and human figures. The photos looked like they were all of some family doing ordinary family things. The background, outfits, and heights of the people who were the subjects of the photos all looked similar, so it seemed like they were all of the same family. But all of the faces were blacked out, so I couldn't be sure. "What is this?" Mikiwa murmured. I frowned. "They're cultists. If you try to make sense of every little thing they did, we'd be at it forever." This was probably another ritual to create a situation that felt like it came out of a ghost story and bring them close to the other world. What they were doing wasn't much different from making a haunted house, but considering their objective, it was hard to smile about it. I was about to say, "Let's hurry," when I noticed a strange look on Mikiwa's face. He wasn't looking at the photographs on the wall, but scanning the whole room and furrowing his brow. "Mikiwa-san? Is something wrong?" "When we came here the other day, we must have checked this building, and yet I have no recollection of seeing a wall with all these pictures on it." "Huh?" Toriko and I looked at one another. "So, basically, does that mean someone redecorated the place in between the last time you were here and today?" Toriko asked, and Mikiba cocked his head to the side. "Does it? No, but what was this room like last time? I can't seem to remember. I know I must have seen it. Could it be?" I focused my right eye and looked around the room again. I just knew it," I said, despite myself. There was a thin silver haze hanging in the room. It was coming from the wall with the photos. The whole wall shone faintly, like it was hot, and a haze that was like the smoke from dry ice was flowing down to our feet. "This place is connected to the other world, so there's something weird about the wall itself." "With the wall?" Mikiba narrowed his eyes, and it looked like he was about to bring his face closer to it, but I stopped him. "You shouldn't get closer. The interstitial space is leaking into this world. Toriko..." When I looked at Toriko, her eyes were half closed, and her lips were pursed. What a rich expression. "I'm gonna touch it?" "Well, yeah. It's gonna be okay, right?" "I'll be looking, so please." "Well, if you're the one asking me." Toriko let go of my hand and removed her gloves. Sasuzuka and the eyes of her men all focused on her translucent hand. Toriko awkwardly looked away, turning towards the wall and stretching her arm out. As she touched the silver mist, Toriko shuddered. "I'm touching it now. What do I do?" Well, grab it and tear it, or something." "Aren't your directions kind of vague?" Even as she griped, Toriko gripped the haze and shook her fist to the side. The fog tore like a paper screen, and silver sparks shot through the air. Once the silver light that only I could see dimmed, all that was left was a grimy wall, with nothing special about it. There was a single photo lying at our feet. It looked like it showed the burned-out husk of a house, but I didn't feel like looking, so I turned around and moved to the corner of the room where I'd have some distance from it. I always forget to bring something to wipe my hand with. Toriko shook her hand in the air, wiped it on her pants, then put her gloves back on. Sorry, it really is unpleasant, huh? I don't know if I'd call it unpleasant. It's like nothing you've ever felt. I never know what to do with my hand after touching these things. Even as she said that, Toriko grabbed my hand again, though she did it with her right hand, not her left. Is it safe now? Mikiba asked, and I nodded. This place is fine. Probably, at least. Runa Arumi's attempt to get closer to the other world had been a success. The distasteful renovations that the cult had done to this place had brought forth an artificial interstitial space on the surface world. If things are already like this at the entrance, we're in for a rough time. As the unit started moving again, I felt a wave of depression. Chapter 6. Give me 1 second. I just want to double check. See exactly how... Yeah, I think we can finish this one today. Chapter 6. I was right to be concerned. Like I would have assumed from the outside, this building was constructed like a school, with a number of rooms lined up along a hallway. They'd all been renovated bizarrely, and more than half of them were connected to the interstitial space. There was a room with school uniforms nailed to the wall, covered in blood. The pages of notebooks lying on the ground were turning, even though there was no wind. One room had a mannequin standing with its back to us. Even though I definitely heard voices before we opened the door, everything went quiet when we opened it. Another room had countless vinyl cords hanging from the ceiling. The pieces of paper tied to the ends of the cords looked like omakuji fortunes that had been tied off as a ward against bad luck. Yet another room had a single refrigerator, letting out a low drone. When we hesitantly opened it, there was a volleyball with a face that looked like a child's scribble on it, and it was wearing a wig. The really crazy one was the room with the rock. I don't know how they got it in there, but the massive boulder at the door was so big we couldn't get inside, and it gave off such an unsettling feeling that I wasn't interested in trying. There was another room where the floor was covered in stones. On closer inspection, they were all gravestones. Oh my goodness, hang on, oh my gosh. Callie, oh my goodness, welcome in, thank you so much for the raid. Hello, how was League of Legends? How was your stream? I hope it went well. How's it going, guys? Hello, everybody who came in with Kallie's raid. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Shuka Sudi Shigeki, Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. I mostly focus on retro style content when I'm not doing ASMR. I do also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising, so if you like fighting games, I do that as well. And then Sunday nights, I do cozy content and ASMR streams. You're playing customs with a bunch of people? It was fun. That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. We are reading a light novel tonight called Otherside Picnic. We are currently on file number 12, so it's story 12, basically. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the check-in, Annabelle. But yes, if you guys need to raid and run, I completely understand that. Please take care of yourselves post-stream. But if you do want to hang out, listen to some story time, and maybe get a little cozy, you're more than welcome to be here, and I'm super happy to have you. Thank you again so much for the raid. Guys, Kali also plays Grand Blue and is super cool, so definitely go check them out. Oh, right, Kali, let me see. Sorry, I lost track of my thoughts there. Done playing League for another 2 years again. Oh my gosh, no, that's a mood. If you have a particular, what was I saying? If you have a particular ASMR trigger you like, like an audio trigger or anything like that, I do have a list here. Please feel free to ask me for anything you want. Don't worry about channel points or anything like that. You can just ask for it in chat and I'll give it to you as a thank you for reading in. I really do appreciate it. I will get to redeems as quickly as I can, but mostly in between chapters. But once again, if you guys need to raid and run, please don't hesitate. It's totally fine. Go get some rest. But otherwise, I'm going to be starting the book reading back up here. Infinite sandwich or infinite dessert? So, you know, I guess it depends, of course, on how flexible the question is, right? Because I would say infinite sandwich, because sandwiches can be like a lot of things. You can put a lot of things in sandwiches, including dessert things. So infinite sandwich would also include infinite dessert of a certain type, right? The sandwich is sandwich flavored. I see. So it's a specific sandwich. I mean, well, then what kind of dessert is it? In any case, let me see here. Okay. There was another room where the floor was covered in stones. On closer inspections, they were all gravestones. The room with pure white gravel on the floor had been letting out crunching noises, as if someone was walking on it before we opened the door. It was awfully misty in that room, and I couldn't make out the far wall. Walking around all these rooms that were decorated so ominously was tiring. Toriko and I closed the gates to the interstitial space one by one. I could tell the operators who were with us were getting sick too. They had sudden nosebleeds, couldn't stop crying, pulled out their earpieces because of ringing in their ears. None of them whined about it, but when I was next to them, I could easily sense their tension levels rising. We started checking on the lower levels, and the last room we came to was on the far end of the 3rd floor. When we closed a gate that was in the bathroom with a scorched bathtub, the echoing sound of boiling water changed to the hiss of steam. There wasn't a drop of water in the room, but the noise seemed to come from nowhere in particular, and it was hopelessly grating. With the bathroom now suddenly silent, the sound of one operator vomiting filled the room. It was a big black man who had covered his mouth and rushed out into the corridor. "This place can really get to you," McGeeva mumbled as he peered into the tub. The scorch mark left in the bottom of the bath was shaped like a person. When I looked closely, I could see scraps of hair and flesh clinging to it. It almost looked like they'd cooked someone in the tub until all the water boiled off. It was possible they'd brought in a bathtub from a building where there was an accident like that. Maybe there were awful stories behind some of the objects in other rooms, too. The man in the hallway must have lost control of his nausea, because I heard the sound of him retching. "Is that guy going to be all right?" I said that without really meaning anything by it, but Sasazuka turned the question back on me. "Are you two girls okay?" Me and Toriko looked at one another. "Well, I'm pretty decent, I guess." "Looks like I'm good, too." Once we replied, the fear gradually crept in. When I saw a normal person's reaction to the other world, it occurred to me that we should have been like that, too. Were we dense? Or just used to this? I didn't like being used to it. We headed out into the hall. The operator who had left before us was looking out into the open window. "Feeling better?" Sasazuka asked him, but there was no response. Instead, the man raised one hand and started waving it. It was as if he was giving a signal to someone outside, but this was the 3rd floor, and only the trees that surrounded the farm were in the direction he was waving. "Marcus, what are you—" It happened just as Sasazuka called out to him suspiciously. Outside the window, someone fell. "Huh?" I screamed and backed away to spite myself. It was all over in an instant, but the image was so intense it burned itself into my retinas. It was a man in a pink shirt wearing slacks. His eyes were locked with mine as he fell, but I couldn't picture his face. That's because it was smushed like clay that had been slammed against the floor. I'd seen this guy before. He was one of the 4th kinds they'd been keeping in the farm's basement. I cowered as there was a noise like the sound of a slap, only magnified 10 times. Was that what it sounded like when someone fell from a high place like this? Hey, Marcus, what are you doing? Stop! The operator had been waving his hand, climbed up onto the window frame, and leaned outside. Sasuzuka leapt forward, trying to grab him, but with the difference in body mass, she couldn't stop him completely. Let go of me. I have to go. As Marcus was struggling and trying to jump, the other operators around him came and grabbed him from behind one after the other. It took 4 of them to pull the big guy down from the ledge. When Marcus fell to the floor, something about his eyes was clearly not sane. His pupils were fully dilated, and the tears flowed constantly. Marcus was still trying to get back up on his feet, but Megiwa put him in a chokehold from behind. Though he struggled, Marcus's head suddenly lolled to the side, and he stopped moving. I was shocked for a moment, thinking Megiwa had killed him, but he'd probably only knocked him out. Megiwa's eyes darted to the window. Just now, was that the... It was the 4th kind, the one I saw the time I was abducted. He fell, right? Did he jump? Oh, sorry, wrong character. He fell, right? Did he jump? Right after Toriko said that, it happened. The same guy appeared outside the window, falling downwards, then the sound of him smacking the ground. What? As Toriko cried out in surprise, another operator started stumbling towards the window. This time it was the Hispanic woman. Her eyes were empty, just like Marcus's before her. Michelle! Before she could reach the window, Sasuzuka hugged her from behind. In the middle of the chaos, I had a moment of realization. This is one of those things you have to not look at. The flying man had been doing the same sort of thing when I saw him under the cattle barn. Inside the small room where he was confined, he would fall from the ceiling, return to it, then fall again, repeating that over and over. He was falling from the same place repeatedly, trying to make others fall with him. The character sees a falling ghost, and is drawn into their own death. It was a common trope in ghost stories. The ghost who tries to take the living with him was easy to understand, so it wasn't the type of ghost story that piqued my interest in the slightest, but that was probably what was going on here. I saw a shadow outside the window, so I shouted, "You can't look at the window! Avert your eyes!" As I shouted, I turned away myself and crouched down where I was standing. Then, after a moment, there was a sound of another fall. The operators who were still standing, as well as Toriko, followed my example and looked down. "What is this, Zoroo?" "If you see him fall, he takes you with him, I think." While holding onto her comrade, who was trying to get closer to the window, Sasuzuka shouted into the intercom. "Base, this is Assault Team A. We've come under 4th kind attack. Shoot the man that's jumping from the residence building." The man who's jumping... The confused voice on the other side of the intercom cut out for a moment. "I see him. You want us to shoot the jumper. Do I have that right?" "That's right. Attack." "Roger." Sasuzuka looked in our direction and said, "Stay down and cover your heads." It happened immediately after that. There was a sound of repeated gunfire from outside the building, and shards of glass raining down on us as the windows shattered. Thud. The sound of the fall was even louder than the last, and then... silence. The sound of continuous falling stopped, as though cut off. The intercom buzzed. "We hit him. No movement from the target." "Damn, he got me!" The female operator, who had regained her senses, groaned. "Michelle! Sorry, I'm fine now." With a look of relief, Sasuzuka spoke into the intercom. "Base, do you have a visual on the guy who just fell?" "I see him. He's not moving." "Approach and confirm if he's dead or alive. Go with a 3-man cell. It has the ability to influence the human mind. If anyone on your team starts acting strangely, stop them immediately. If the target is still moving, shoot him until he stops." "Rog..." Suddenly the man's voice grew tense. "There's another one on the roof." "Where?" "Right above you, boss." Right after that, there was a loud noise above us, and we reflexively looked up at the ceiling. The thudding noise up there was footsteps. Someone was running around up on the roof. They were violent steps, like those of a child running as fast as they could, but they had enough weight and momentum to cause dust to fall from the ceiling. Megiwa pointed the barrel of his gun up at the roof and said, "I do not believe there is any way up to the roof, but..." I hadn't seen any ladders or stairs in any of the rooms we'd been to yet, either. We turned our heads, following the footsteps as they ran in all directions, until suddenly they came to a stop. "We have contact." one of the operators shouted as he took aim with his gun. I had no idea when he got there, but there was somebody standing at the opposite end of the hall from us. He was a pure black shadow, human in form, but with eyes so slanted they were almost vertical, like some kind of deformed fox. The shadow's mouth was open, as if he were laughing out loud, and the white of his teeth and the red inside his mouth seared themselves into my vision. The guy looked at us, and shouted at us with a voice that sounded like it was breaking apart. Gah! Nah! This guy, I knew his voice. He was being kept in the cattle barn, like the falling man. He was the one with the number 5 written on his door. Number 5 kills too often. That was what the cult said about him. His vertical eyes were bloodshot. Our eyes met. He was looking at me. With the voice of a howling beast, number 5 said something. So, what, man? The look in his eyes was more than enough to tell me that he was hostile and meant harm. His eyes locked on me. As I stayed crouched on the floor, number 5 started running. He was pumping his arms and running full tilt, closing the gap rapidly as I watched. He's gonna kill me. I cowered with instinctual fear. Sorbo! Toriko pulled my hand, and I staggered to my feet, but this was the end of the hall on the third floor. There was nowhere for us to run. If we fled into one of the rooms, we'd be trapped like rats. Toriko hugged me tight as I panicked. Next to us, Megiba opened fire. I saw a spatter of blood around number 5 as he charged in. Megiba shot, pulled the slide, and shot again, firing so fast there was almost no break in the gunshots. Sasuzuka and the other operators all started firing too. The sound of gunfire echoing through the hallway was deafening, but number 5 charged on through the hail of bullets. With broad strides and at incredible speed, mere steps away, his knees finally gave out, and he pitched forward. The dark bodies stopped less than a meter from us. Oh, man. Everyone kept their barrels trained on number 5 as he groaned resentfully. The groaning weakened, and I thought it might stop, but then, out of nowhere, number 5 started to talk. Up here, in these mountains, what is it? The sudden use of words with meaning we could understand made all of us freeze. What is that place? Number 5's groaning echoed through the silent hallway. Something weird. Hey, something happened. Number 5 was mumbling. I told you that mountain is hollow. That was the end of it. Number 5 stopped moving and speaking. It was a while before everyone was convinced he wasn't going to get back up and attack us again, but eventually they all lowered their guns. What was that thing? Toriko asked, but I simply shook my head. Then, noticing her face was super close to mine, I hurriedly moved away from her. I don't know if it was her sweat or if it was the soap she used, but when we were this close, I could tell just how good she smelled. Looking down at the 4th kind on the floor, I thought about it. Was this guy's form based off some sort of ghost story too? No specific motif was coming to mind. I felt like I'd read a ghost story about a human who was possessed by a fox spirit and their eyes slanted to the point they were vertical, but that might not have had anything to do with it. After all, the 4th kinds we had encountered so far hadn't necessarily been tied to ghost stories that I knew. If we'd made one misstep somewhere, could Toriko or I have been turned into this kind of beast? Into an unidentified monster attacking people? As I listened to Sasuzuka give the order to bring a body bag, I couldn't tear my eyes away from number 5. Chapter 7. Once we left the residence building, which was now clear, we reorganized ourselves. Several of the operators, including Marcus, who'd almost been taken by the falling man, traded places with members of the backup team and returned to base. The final building was the cattle barn. The cult's surviving 4th kinds should have been dealt with now, but everyone was feeling tense and didn't talk much. On the first floor of the cattle barn, there were a number of concrete enclosures divided off with wooden fences, but none of them showed any signs of use. There was a staircase in one enclosure, leading up to the floor above. The second floor resembled the residence building, and the rooms along the corridor had been remodeled to make them connect to the other world. There was a washroom with an absurd number of urinals, a kitchen with an abandoned mannequin torso, and a children's room with the word "help" written in red pen. Looking at them once more with my right eye, I was surprised to find there were no open gates. Were these early projects that were somehow less complete? Or had there been plans to create something more in-depth later, maybe? We followed the needlessly complex path down to the basement. In the dark and quiet of the underground tunnel, the slight whine of the fluorescent lights that dotted the ceiling echoed. The cell I had been thrown into, and the room where the fourth kinds had been detained were both empty. It would have been a problem if they weren't, though, because Megiwa had been here before. Our check went smoother than I expected it to. We didn't find any more gates after all. Maybe the residence building had been dedicated to contact with the other world. But I knew the cattle barn held the largest gate, the round hole in the basement. In the last stall in the restroom at the T-junction in the underground passage, there was a hidden set of stairs that went deeper. Whether you descended from the men's or the ladies' toilets, they met at a common landing before going even further down. The doors of the junction were left wide open. There was a massive iron ring placed in the wide, nondescript concrete room. A film of silvery phosphorescence that was only visible to my right eye filled the inside of that ring like a bubble. The round hole in the basement, the large gate that Runa Arumi used to attack the DS lab. The cattle barn came to a dead end in this room. Because there had been no enemies here so far, I was finally able to feel a sense of relief. Kamakoshi-san. Oh, Kamakoshi-san, is this place still connected to the DS lab? I don't know. Want to try opening it? If that is possible, please do so. I turned to Toriko. Do you mind? Okay. Toriko removed her left glove and approached the round hole. She was used to it after doing this so many times. Her translucent hand was wrapped in phosphorescence, and when she swung it quickly, the air snapped and another place appeared inside the ring. It was the underground parking lot at the DS lab. The operators who had been watching gasped. It's open. When I turned around, Sasazuka was staring intently at the gate. Is this directly connected to the DS lab building in Taimeki-Sano? Looks like it. Gates that connect the surface and the other side all pass through the interstitial space to one degree or another, but the space is so short here that you can hardly even detect it. Is that possible? Runa's cult had one fourth kind who seemed to be in charge of opening gates. This might only have been doable because of him. The fourth kind with the oversized head that got taken out by Satsuki Aruma in the other world. He used his whole head to open the gate, but thinking back to it now, his ability might have been like a combination of my eye and Toriko's hand. This is frightening, Sasazuka murmured. You're telling me a destructive cult had free access to this means of transportation? I shudder to think what they'd have done with it if they hadn't been stopped. I'm sure, I am sure there are a large number of people who would want this gate. Its value is beyond price. I'm sure you already understand why, but please keep this quiet. This is some crazy stuff you've gotten us worked up in. I'd be far too scared to ever tell anyone, Sasazuka told Megiwa with a strained smile. How long do I need to keep this open? Toriko asked, and Megiwa seemed to suddenly snap back to his senses. You can close it for now. Thank you. When Toriko let it go, the hole snapped shut, and there was a light gust of wind. Megiwa and Sasazuka began discussing what to do with this facility. For lack of anything better to do, Toriko and I stood close to one another, listening to them talk. If we can travel from the DS lab to here, that is convenient, though access to the outside from here is less so. That's true, since this place is connected to your underground parking lot. If you could bring cars through that gate. I cannot imagine the cult did not think of that themselves. When we came to investigate the other day, just behind this building, we saw the start of a large hole that was being dug with heavy machinery. This is merely a supposition on my part, but perhaps they meant to connect a road to this room, allowing them to ride vehicles into the round hole. Ah, that makes sense. Will you continue the construction? I do believe that is an option. However, we need to consider how much we intend to invest in this place. It seems unquestionable that it will require regular checks, so it might prove safer to dismantle it entirely. Uh-oh. It'd be bad for us if they destroyed it. As I was starting to get anxious listening to them, Toriko brought her face close to mine. That same smell as when she held me close earlier tickled my nose again, and I got all flustered. Are you thinking about something? Kind of. Getting a hold of myself once more, I spoke up. Migiwa-san, I wanted to discuss something. Yes? Would you give the farm to me? I could feel a clear sense of confusion permeate the air. What do you mean, give it to you? Migiwa's expression was clouded with suspicion, so I hurriedly started to explain myself. This place can't be handled by normal people. It seems like the boundary with the other world is thin all over the farm. We've dealt with all the spots that stood out to us for now, but we could have missed some, and another gate might suddenly open up. With my eye and Toriko's hand, we can fix those, but for someone who can't see or touch them, it's dangerous to be here. I see. I'm not asking for the deed to the land here. Of course, if you're willing to give it to me, if you're willing to give me it, I'll take it, but that's not what this is about. I'm saying I'll manage this place. My shrill voice echoed off the ceiling of the empty room where the round hole had been set up. It would definitely be for the best. This place is too messed up to leave it to anyone else. Hire me as a manager. And pay me a salary too. Toriko was giving me a dubious look as I passionately asserted my argument. Migiwa thought about it for a while before responding. It remains unclear at this juncture how this place is registered, so any response I give you must, by its nature, be provisional. But I do believe it should be possible for us to outsource the job of managing the farm to the two of you. You mean it? Looking closely at me as I got worked up, Migiwa asked, for my reference, what would you intend to do as the managers of this place? I want the money. So you want to monitor the farm as a job? Yeah, that's it. Also, this building's in contact with the interstitial space, so I was thinking we might find artifacts from the other world here, you know? I want to find and collect them. In that sense, it would be dangerous for people who can't see them to be here, so I'd like you to let me handle it. I babbled on with reasons I was coming up with on the fly. Migiwa had a frown on his face. As we were discussing earlier, the hidden value of this gate is inestimable. It's possible that people other than the cultists might come here and attempt to gain control of it. This place is dangerous in that sense, too. That just makes my case stronger. No one can use the gate better than Toriko and me. You need me here. Migiwa thought for a moment. I see. You may be right. Very well. Allow me to take it into consideration. Thank you so much. I enthusiastically thanked him, pretending not to notice the dubious look Toriko was giving me. Having decided... make sure here. Chapter 8. Having decided that all the threats of the farm had been removed, we began preparing to pull out. It was decided that a number of people would travel directly to the DS lab through the round hole in the basement. They carried the weapons and equipment we had collected from everyone, the wounded, and 2 body bags tied with plastic ties to the gate as Toriko held it open. All said, about half the operators ended up using the gate to return. This place was in the mountains of Hano, tens of kilometers from the urban core, so it should have been more convenient to go this way, but the operators didn't look too happy about it. When you consider that they were being forced to use some kind of unknown technology they didn't understand the underlying principles of, I could see why they would be hesitant. Okay, do it. The operators on the other side of the round hole waved. I nodded to Toriko, who let go with her translucent hand, and the round gate snapped shut. The underground parking lot vanished. With the presence of several people and the noise around them gone, it was suddenly quiet. Immediately, Sasuzuka's cell phone rang. She answered, they exchanged a few words, and then she hung up. They say they're fine over there. Migiwa nodded. Then let us pull out as well. We left the room with the round hole and climbed the stairs. Returning down the meandering passages, we headed to the empty cattle barn to get outside. With all the bulky equipment sent to the gate, all we had to do was get in the van and go home. As we were watching the remaining operators pile into the 2 vehicles, Migiwa urged us, "Please, get in." "Oh, no, we're going to look around a little more before heading back." "Huh?" The look Toriko turned and gave me seemed to say. Migiwa furrowed his brow, too. "Just the 2 of you? That is... My eye is too dangerous to use properly when there are people around. I want to go around and look at the places we checked today one more time. Do you mind coming with me, Toriko?" Sure, I can do that. You heard her. You can go back without us. We'll be returning through the round hole, though, so I think we'll probably be back before you. Very well. We checked the surrounding area, too, so I do not think there is any worry of other fourth kinds or remnants of the cult, but take care. We'll be careful. Well, see you later. Toriko and I watched the two vans drive away down the narrow road surrounded by the tall grass on both sides. Once the sound of engines faded, I let out an unconscious sigh. Being around people was exhausting. Toriko walked up next to me as I was feeling relieved and slid her arm through mine. We're finally alone, huh, Sorowo? Huh? Toriko rested her head on my shoulder. Because she was taller than me, the position was a little forced. Basically, all her weight was on my left arm. Cut it out. You're tearing my arm off. Sorry, 1 second. Cut it out. You're tearing my arm off. Tell me what you're plotting, and I'll stop. I don't know what you... Hey, Sorowo, I may not have an eye like yours, but I can still tell you're hiding something, you know? Perceptive, aren't you? I felt like there was some resentment about me keeping quiet, about being able to see Satsuki Aruma all that time. Looking into her eyes, so close to mine as she hung off my arm, I got flustered. Hey, aren't you a bit close today? You think? This is normal, isn't it? Toriko brushed my doubts aside as she let go of my arm. No, you're definitely too close. I felt like Toriko had been getting closer to me ever since the day Runa attacked the DS lab. Physically, I mean, she didn't hold my hand so often before. Say something, Sorowo. Sure. What? So, that was a lie, right? The monitoring thing. It's not a lie per se, I just didn't tell them everything. See, I knew it. I turned around and walked away with my back to her. Toriko followed me. Where are we going? The residence building. I need you to lend me a hand again, though. Yeah, I'll touch whatever you ask me to at this point, Toriko said without any real care. I felt like she had to be mad at me after all. In the entrance of the residence building, we armed ourselves by getting the guns out of our bag. The familiar weight of the Makarov helped me to finally relax a little. You ready, Sorowo? Yeah. All right, follow me. Huh? Okay. Toriko stood in front of me, her gun in one hand, and opened the door to the residence building. We cleared the building earlier, so I think it's going to be okay, but don't move too far away from me. Right. I gave a half-hearted response, looking at Toriko's back, and then brought up what had been bothering me all day. Toriko, aren't you acting kind of weird today? Huh? Toriko turned and looked at me in surprise. Weird? How? Well, you've been getting closer to me than usual, you could say. This isn't how you usually act, right? It's like you're awfully fired up today, or like you're spinning your wheels. Spinning my wheels? Toriko stiffened, at a loss for words, so I searched for something I could say to smooth things over. Hey, it's kind of like, I don't know, aren't you really going out of your way to try and protect me today? Huh? I'm always trying to do that. I mean, I'm more used to this than you, Sorowo. Like, using guns and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, I know, but it's just different from usual. I scratched my head and searched for the appropriate words. That odd smile, like she was watching over me, like a bodyguard. No, a parent? Nuh-uh. Oh, I've got it. You're acting like you're my boyfriend. Toriko's jaw dropped. Like I'm your boyfriend. Toriko, you've been acting like you're trying to be a good escort. It felt kind of off. I mean, that's not how things are between us, right? Uh-huh. Here I was, satisfied I'd found the perfect words to describe it, but in contrast, Toriko looked kind of shocked. What's wrong? You okay? Yeah. maybe we're not like that, huh? Huh? Was she really all right? Are you okay? I asked in English. I'm okay, maybe. Yeah, no, she wasn't okay at all. She was more shaken up than I'd ever seen her. I got worried and took one of the hands hanging limply at her sides. Listen, I appreciate the sentiment, but I'm fine with things staying the way they always have been. You don't have to push yourself. Like they always have been. Come on, let's go. I pulled Toriko by the hand. Ah! Toriko looked as if she was about to fall over as she put her foot forward. I kept walking with her hand in mine, and we entered the residence building. Sorabo, when you say things should stay the same between us, what do you mean? Toriko asked, sounding uneasy. Well, you know, Toriko, there were a lot of other people here today, so you must have been on edge, right? Yeah, maybe. I'm pretty shy, so I get tense when there's a lot of people around. I figured. I feel you there. I let go of Toriko's hand and let out a big yawn as I walked. Seriously, I'm glad we're finally alone together. It's reassuring to have a bunch of gun-toting guys on our side, but it throws us off our game when there's so many of them. Yeah. Thinking about how we were going to have to look after all of them if things got crazy was weighing on me, and really, I think things are best when it's just the two of us, doing whatever we want. I stopped in front of a particular room. It was a simple door, in about the middle of the corridor, with a frosted glass window. The first time we saw it, there had been water droplets in the glass, and it felt chilly as we approached. The condensation had evaporated since we closed the gate, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary at all. I opened the door, and there were a bunch of worn-down old rowboats laying upside down. Earlier, the stains on the floor under the boats had looked like they were human-shaped, and creeped me out. Now they just looked like ordinary stains. Toriko, could you open this gate? Even though we just closed it? Yeah, please. With a mystified look on her face, Toriko opened the gate using her left hand, and the room filled with air that felt moist. On the other side of the gate, I could see what looked like road signs floating in the fog. See? This is connected directly to the other world. Let's go. Okay. Toriko and I passed through the gate. There was a diagonal line on the road signs, so it looked like they were prohibiting something, but the picture beneath the line looked like a drowning child, or an octopus, or something else I couldn't identify. You can close it. I can? Yeah, I see the silver light. As long as you're around, we should be able to come back. Got it. Toriko released her hand, and the gate shut. We walked a little ways, past the road signs, and the ground at our feet changed to grass. The fog cleared, and we were able to figure out where we had emerged. It's a river, Toriko murmured. The river that ran through the other world lay out in front of us. It was wide, with a gentle flow. The blurry sunlight seemed to give the surface a dull shimmer. Turning to look behind us, the plain stretched out as far as the eye could see. I couldn't spot any familiar landmarks. In other words, this was an area of the other world that we hadn't been to yet. While we were closing the gates in the residence building, there were a number of them that seemed usable. Ones where the interstitial space was thin, so we could head straight to the other world. I'm excluding the rooms that were so creepy I don't want to go anywhere near them from that, of course. You never mentioned it then, though, did you? I never would. This is our world. I'm not letting anyone else in. Toriko's eyes widened, and she stared at me. What? I asked, unable to handle the pressure of that gaze, and Toriko's expression broke into a goofy grin. I love you, Sorabo. Oh, yeah? I love you so much. Yeah, thanks. I got flustered when she said that so suddenly, so my response was a little more than a murmur. It was new to see Toriko throwing around a careless remark like that. I appreciated her being so easygoing, but if I took a beauty like her seriously every time she used the word love, I wasn't going to last. In an attempt to get things back on track, I said, well, should we head back? Huh? You're done here already? Yeah, we'll save the serious exploration for when we've prepared properly. I turned back down the path we'd come in order to test the next gate. Thank you for the hydrate, Rex. and the pastor check, Anon. Also, hello, Anon. Okay. Chapter 9. The gate in the back of the first floor hallway led out into a cave that was halfway up a cliff. Wooden planks clinging to the rock face continued to the left and right. It looked like we could go either way, but the path was so narrow, it would be easy to fall off if you stopped paying attention for a moment. Below were gloomy woods and a thin, snaking path that we could make out through the branches. The first room on the second floor... Oh my god, Ember! Hello! Welcome in, raiders! Hello, hello! How was your ASMR stream, Ember? Hello! Oh my gosh! Petal Raid, Sakura Tiger Dragon has brought her grove to you. Oh my gosh. Hello, raiders. How was your stream? I hope it went well. How's it going, Ember? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hello, everyone who came in with Ember's raid. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Sukra Shiraki, Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. You can finally read me back. It's true. It's true. But yes, I mostly focus on retro style content when I'm not doing ASMR. I also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising, so if you like fighting games, I do that as well. And then Sunday nights, I do cozy content and ASMR streams. Tonight we are reading a light novel called Otherside Picnic. We are almost done with this particular story. I believe we have 2 more chapters to go. But yes, Ember, please let me know if you would like a particular trigger request. Let me pull up my triggers here. Hang on. Let me know. Don't worry about channel points. Just let me know in chat and I'll get that for you as a thank you for the raid. Guys, Ember is another ASMR VTuber. She is super cozy. I highly recommend checking out her streams. And thank you again so much for the raid. If you need to raid and run, same thing goes for your raiders. If you guys need to head off to bed, anything like that, please go ahead and do so. Don't worry about it. Take care of yourselves post-stream. But if you do want to hang out and listen to a little bit of story reading and a little bit of additional cozy time before we head out for the evening, you're more than welcome to be here, and I'm super, super happy to have you. Thank you again so much, Ember, for the raid. I really do appreciate it. I will get to trigger requests in between chapters as I'm able, or if I get to a break in the story. But yeah, just please feel free to let me know, and I will get those for you. So, but for the time being, I'm going to get back to the book, and I will keep an eye out on chats and on redeems to see if there's anything ASMR trigger wise to do. Okay. You need to raid and run. Need food? Absolutely. Take a makeup brush with this thing. Yes, absolutely. Let's get that for you. Okay. Okay. This should be your left ear, I believe. My day was good, Anon. Thank you. This should be your right ear. Makeup brush is surprisingly smooth to listen to. That's good. I'm glad. Very glad to hear that. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna use this as an opportunity to see exactly how many pages we have left. It is after midnight, but I think we can finish up. Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, these are short chapters. That's good. Okay. We are almost there. So a little bit more brushing. And then we'll get back to it. Just running the brush. Luna Letty, oh my goodness. Hello, welcome. Well, okay, so the ASM artists I was looking at possibly reading out to, 2 of them have rated in here. I see. Raid, hand over you loot. Thank you. How's it going, Luna? Letty? Wait, you were literally part of the other raid. The cinnamon alerts are cute. Oh, thank you. I have a separate set of alerts specifically for ASMR streams. But yes, thank you so much, Letty. I appreciate it. How was your ASMR stream? I hope it went well. But yeah, because my normal redeems are my normal alerts are definitely way too loud for ASMR streams. I have separate ones for that, and I actually have new alerts that are going to be going into effect next week, and I'm very excited about that. I don't know if I'm going to include them, like the visuals. I may or may not include them on the ASMR streams or not, but maybe I will. And mostly it's the sounds that are the problem, right? So, new alerts. Yep. You can look forward to that on Tuesday. I'm very excited. Very, very excited. But yes, hello everybody who came in with Letty's Raid. If you are not familiar with me, my name is Tsukro Shigaki Kumajo in training. I am a variety streamer and a magical girl bear VTuber. I mostly focus on retro style content. I also play a lot of Grand Blue Rising. So if you like fighting games, I do that as well. And then Sunday nights, I do cozy content and ASMR. If that sounds like your jam and you want to hang out for a little bit more cozy times, please feel free to hang out. We are doing a story reading tonight, Storytime. I'm reading from a light novel called Otherside Picnic. I will give the, not really warning, but I guess just the disclaimer, I guess, that the series is slightly creepy, not like full horror or anything like that, but it is on the creepier end. The basic gist of it is it's like it's 2 college girls who find gates to a different world and basically start working for a science organization to hunt the SCP monsters effectively. They're not literally, but that's kind of the closest analog I can think of that are on the other side. So, yes, Letty, let me do this real quick. Hang on. Here are my triggers. If you have a particular trigger request you would like to ask for as a thank you for the raid, please just let me know in chat. I'd be happy to do that for you. Not required at all, of course. If you need to raid and run, that's also totally fine. But just wanted to offer a freebie on request if you have a particular thing you enjoy, and I'd be happy to get that for you. But yes, both you and your raiders, if you guys need to raid and run, please take care of yourselves post-stream. Please go get some sleep or some food or whatever you need to go do. But if you do want to hang out and listen to some book reading, tongue clicking, absolutely. Okay. hopefully that was good. I am going to get back to the book reading because I'm hoping to be done by 12:30 at this point, I guess. And we do have 2 more chapters to get through. But also, if trigger requests are needed, go ahead and put them in through the channel pirate names, and I will get to them in between chapters. We've only got 2 left to go, but I will still do my best to get to everything. So, okay. Chapter 9. The gate in the back of the first floor hallway led out into a cave that was halfway up a cliff. Wooden planks clinging to the rock face continued to the left and right. It looked like we could go either way, but the path was so narrow it would be easy to fall off if you stopped paying attention for a moment. Below were gloomy woods, and a thin, snaking path that we could make out through the branches. The first room on the second floor led to a place that looked like an abandoned amusement park. I say that because there was a structure that looked like a Ferris wheel, but when we approached, we realized that the things attached to the iron frame were large hunks of rock. The playground equipment nearby was rusted and falling to pieces, but even if it was all brand new, it was hard to imagine how humans would have played on it. There was an opening in the middle of a forest where what looked like scarecrows made out of wooden branches stood in a line. The woods were so dark we couldn't see anything inside. In the middle of the opening, the dirt swelled up as if something were buried there, and that spot was thick with white mushrooms that grew only there. There was an intense minty smell coming from somewhere. There was a rocky area full of trash. The ground was covered in plastic drinking bottles and shards of plastic worn by the sun and wind, and a bluish stone face peered over it. There was a continuous hum coming from beneath the trash. I thought it might be the whine of a small motor or the chirping of insects, but even after digging through the trash with my shoe, I couldn't find the source of it. I saw a public restroom like the kind you'd find in the park standing on top of a dune. I could hear the echo of what I assumed was the sound of a babbling brook being played at high volume by an Otohime noise machine, and it was resonating with the wind blowing over the sand. Peering in through the door, I could see the thorny moss growing out of one of the toilets in an open stall. There was a gate with no light that went straight into darkness that stank of mildew, too. We tried turning on a light, and it was a corridor lined with lockers on each wall. Before we could check how far it went, we felt several eyes on us from inside the lockers and beat a hasty retreat. There was a place with an abandoned bonfire that was just the right size, as if it had been prepared for us. It was burning in the middle of an open plain, yet there was no one as far as the eye could see. There were cobwebs around the fire, and piles of bones that had once belonged to some small animals I couldn't identify. Beautiful places, mysterious spaces, and terrifying locales. We opened what looked like promising gates one after another, and glimpsed fragments of the other side. We were perusing potential candidates for an expedition, window shopping for unknown worlds. At a glance, hardly any of the gates seemed to be near places we knew, and they seemed to be far away from the places we'd explored. But without investigating further, it was impossible to say for sure. Ultimately, there were about 6 gates we could use. Runa Urumi's cult had been a bunch of worthless losers, but I guess you could say they did do some good work. The last gate we tested came out at the side of a lake in the mountains. The sun was low in the sky at this point, and the sky was a beautiful gold with hints of rainbow color in it. On the shore, where the waves silently came in, there was a lot of white driftwood scattered around, the pieces tangled around one another. As we stared at the surface of the lake together, I noticed something. When I wasn't following Toriko or pulling her around, we were just walking side by side, exploring all sorts of places. It was a lot of fun. I think that's why when she started acting like she was my boyfriend, it felt awkward for me. It seemed like, as we went from one place to the next in quick succession, Toriko had gone back to her usual self. Right now, she was watching the sky change color with a serene expression on her face. I stared admiringly, holy crap, why can I not say this word? I stared admiringly as the wind that blew across the lake played with her golden locks. Toriko noticed my gaze and turned toward me. What? No, it's just... I initially shook my head, but then reconsidered and said, for me, what I want is simple. To explore the other world, that's all. Just the two of us alone, without anyone else to get in the way. That's all I have ever wanted. But how do you feel about that, Toriko? What do you mean? I mean, you originally came to the other world to look for someone, but she's kind of a lost cause now, right? The Satsuki Arima we met in the depths of the other world had transformed into a complete monster. That Toriko had pulled away from her when she tried to take her away showed just how bad it was. That means you've lost your original goal, right? So what reason do you have to keep entering the other side? After asking the question, I was surprised with myself. This was a question I'd been too scared to ask not long ago. For some reason, it came out easily this time. Toriko was silent for a while, just as I started to think, was that a mean question? Toriko finally opened her mouth. Zorowo, you want to explore the other world with me, right? Yeah. I feel the same way. I want to be with you too. I want us to go wherever that takes us, always together. That's what you want, Toriko? Yeah. Toriko nodded. I was relieved. Suddenly feeling embarrassed, I turned away and mumbled. Oh, yeah? Well, I'll look forward to it, Toriko. Me too, Zorowo. I couldn't see the look on her face, but she sounded ecstatic. Chapter 10. We headed back to the surface world before it got dark and left the residence building. Obviously, we didn't want to be in a place like this after sundown. We were chatting about how we should hurry back to the round hole and get something to eat, and how we wanted to shower, but as we reached the door of the cattle barn, we came to a sudden stop. It stinks. The cattle barn hadn't had any strong smell before, but now was filled with the stench of excrement and blood. Mixed in with them was an animal smell, I guess you'd call it. The odors that assaulted our nostrils were exactly what you would expect an actual cattle barn to smell like. We looked at each other and pulled out our Makarovs. Cautiously approaching the entrance, I peered inside. The setting sun shone inside the cattle barn. There was something squirming at the border between that light and the shadows. A cow? Toriko murmured. That was what it looked like to me, too. A calf, lying on the floor, struggling to get to its feet. It was wet, as if it had just been born, and the surface of its body was covered in black fuzz. It looked the same to my right eye. We kept our Makarovs trained on it as we slowly approached. Noticing us as we circled around in front of it, the calf raised its head. Huh? What? We both cried out in shock. The calf had a human face. Male, with unfocused eyes. Its head, which it raised towards us, swayed back and forth, without uttering a single cry. Zorowo, what is this thing? I was speechless for a while before, finally, the term slipped away from my mouth. Kudan? The cow with the head of a person. Kudan. This was a being that predated net lore, with accounts dating back as far as the Edo period. It was a strange beast that died a few days after being born, but would prophesy in a human language during that time. It wasn't just seeing a monster before my eyes that had left me so shaken up. I felt like I recognized the Kudan's face. This face, with its hollow, lifeless eyes, was... The Kudan opened its mouth and spoke in a weak voice. The red person is coming. That's what it sounded like. The red person is coming. Coming back, Zorowo. What is he... Toriko's voice raised sharply. We hadn't taken our eyes off it for a second, but the Kudan's form had changed. It was a woman in a black kimono, kneeling on the concrete. The old hands peeking out from her sleeves were gnarled and wrinkly. From the shoulders up, she had the head of a Wagyu cow with short horns. And for some reason, of course, she seemed familiar. You're a cursed woman, Zorowo. When the Kudan, no, the cow woman, spoke, long strands of spittle fell from her mouth, wetting the knees of her kimono. The voice was familiar too. "You're a cursed woman, a seed of calamity. You take after your mother." I screamed and pulled the trigger. The gunshot echoed through the cattle barn. When I came to my senses, I had unloaded the entire magazine, and the slide was open. "Sorabo, are you okay?" Toriko shouted, grabbing my hand. I couldn't respond. The cow woman wasn't there anymore, just a watery liquid, like thin blood, all over the floor. Of course, they had been familiar. That was my father and my grandmother. The man's face was my dead father's. The voice that the cow had spoke with was my dead grandmother's. And that is the end of file number 12. File number 13 that we will get to next time around is called Pandora in the Next Room. So, yeah. A little intense at the end, but you know. Okay, guys. Thank you so much for coming to watch and listen. I hope you guys had a cozy time. I know parts of the story definitely got more intense in this one. Pandora in the Next Room sounds ominous. We've got actually a couple really good stories coming up. Pandora in the Next Room is pretty good. The one, I think the one after that is the Hot Springs episode. Yeah, it is. So file 13 is called Pandora in the Next Room, and file number 14 is called The Inviting Hot Springs. I'm looking forward to both of those, actually, because they're both good stories. And starts getting, and we're starting now to finally get actual, like, relationship advancement between Sorabo and Toriko. It's gonna take some time before that actually pays out, because Sorabo is a goddamn idiot, but, you know, okay, I can get you the yada yada before we finish. Okay, while running. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, let me take a look and see who we might write out to tonight. We've so glad your headphones cooperated and connected in time. Ah, I see. Okay, let me see. So, this is why my ada-adas are peak. Oh my gosh. So actually we've only got one person that we've rated in the past, on right now. So I'm going to take a look at the full category, and see if there's maybe anyone else that we might want to go say hello to. The schedule? Yeah, I can show that. Hang on one second. So, where is it? Hang on. Is it this one? It is, yeah. So, here is the schedule for next week. So I'll be back on Tuesday with On Your Hands. We are probably finishing that game this week. On Thursday, I'll be doing some Guilty Gear, taking a brief break from Grand Blue. Not a prolonged one, obviously. We'll be back to it very soon. But I wanted to do a little bit of Strive ranked while I'm still low enough ranked that it's not an immense struggle yet, so you know, just to kind of have some fun with it. After we're done with the Guilty Gear Strive stuff, I'll be continuing to do some more stuff with Celeste. Kind of want to keep working through that post-game stuff. The usual phrase. Okay, I will. It'll be quick because we are pushing 12:30. But Saturday, we will be doing the community stream that I promised you guys from the Donathon. The donors will have priority for joining the lobby, but we will be playing some Super Battle Golf. And then next Sunday night, we'll be doing more cozy gaming. And I'm going to start playing Pacopia, which I'm very excited about. I've been wanting to play that game for a while, and being able to now is super cool. I'm very excited. So, okay. I will get your trigger word redeem while I am looking for a raid target. So, with that in mind, Kumasho. Kuma, 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 kuma. Masho, masho, masho. Kumasho. Kumasho. Kuma, 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 kuma. Kumasho. Kumasho. Okay, let me see here. Kumasho. Forgot I posted on the cord. Yeah, it's up on the Discord already. Let me see here. Okay. Of course. I've got a couple options here. Let me see. So I think we have someone doing a 5-hour ASMR stream. They are on the second hour, I guess. We've also got somebody doing, hang on, where'd they go? We've got somebody doing their own marathon. Let me see. You know what? Yeah, I think we're gonna meet a new person tonight. Let's go do this. I think this will be good. Okay. Alright. So, those of you coming with me on this raid, we do have a raid message. If you are subscribed and have access to the emotes, it is this. If you are not subscribed, that's totally fine. We've got you covered with this one instead. Please feel free to use either one of those. I'm going to go ahead here and start this raid up. Give me 1 second here, and I will get you guys the link just in case the raid happens to leave you behind. It is... that should be correct. Cool. You as well, Anonymous. I appreciate it. I will be back on Tuesday to finish up On Your Hands. I'm looking forward to it. I will see you guys then. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night and a great start to your week. And I will see you next time. Have a great night, chat. Hang on, where is it out here? There it is. Got it. Okay. Have a great night, chat. Sleep well. Hang tight for that raid.